Hello to all fans of Naruto Lemon. I will post all Naruto Lemon Yaoi, Yuri, or Naruto Lemon stories only on the Boosty channel because Uncle YouTube condemns this. Therefore, I invite everyone who wants Naruto Lemon content to my Boosty channel. Good luck.
Are you sure you can't ask for the day off? He asked. Or at least come in late? Sakura moved a pink strand away from her face. Sorry, Naruto. I have to perform an autopsy tomorrow and that alone is so much work. The young man kicked a pebble away from his foot. It tumbled a few feet away into a dimly lit alleyway. Well, how the hell am I supposed to greet you happy birthday? You keep telling me to leave soon. I can't even attend your party. You know, Sai actually asked me what to get you. Sai. Doesn't that sound wrong? Sakura stopped in her tracks. It's just a party, she assured him. I'm turning 19. No big deal. And besides, her green eyes softened visibly under the light of the lamppost. The quicker you leave, the quicker you come back. His blue eyes turned to her neck, right at the junction of her shoulder. He froze in his tracks, standing right in front of her. 6 months training, huh? Yup, he responded, hands tucked in his pockets. Are you gonna miss me? Naruto immediately grinned. Sakura rolled her eyes starward. You gotta be kidding. Come on. Naruto leaned forward slightly, matching her at eye level. I know I'm gonna miss you, he admitted with a soft breath. It was so strange, Sakura thought. She should have been used to him always hitting on her or his attempted sweet talk. Usually, he sounded so corny that she could easily punch him for saying stupid things, but there were times when he said sincere things with such a natural face. There was no way she could feel a strong frustration. Sakura's eyes wandered past Naruto's head, towards a clothing store a few meters behind him. The store's lights were still on, with a large black open sign hanging on its door. To the left, a large window display of clothes and accessories littered the mannequins and floor. This must have been the 12th time she caught herself staring at that jacket, a red-orange waist-length piece with elbow-length sleeves and 4 utility pockets, 1 on each side, 2 on the chest. Naruto turned his head and then chuckled. Geez, you've been looking at that thing for weeks. Why don't you just buy it? I will next paycheck. I can wait another week. Sakura began to walk again. Naruto caught up until he was walking at the same pace. So, what's Sai getting me? She turned to him curiously. Dunno. His first thought was a gift certificate to a salon. That's nice. Yeah, something about you needing it. Sakura blinked. Her eyes widened in surprise and then narrowed in anger in 1 second flat. Naruto could feel her chakra glowing fierce, frightening colors. What's wrong? He twitched. Oh. That jerk. Sakura pounded a fist right into her palm, cracking every knuckle. He didn't get that, though. Naruto waved his hands up and down, trying to calm her. He and Ino went shopping for yours, I think. She let her hands fall to her side. That's Sai. After 3 years, he still calls me ugly or cow or . But that's just him, he's blind as shit, Naruto squinted. We all know how cute you are. Sakura raised an eyebrow. Cute? Well, yeah, Naruto pursed his lips forward in a frown. Real cute. He paused for a few heartbeats and opened his mouth. And I would love to keep telling you that for the rest of our lives, he said with a wide grin. I swear Naruto, you say something stupid like that again, I'll throw you into Hokageyama. Okay. They quietly approached her apartment when the moon was bright in the sky. Sakura pulled out her key from her pocket and inserted it into her lock. Oh. Naruto fished out a key from his own pocket and held it to her, a brass key on a keychain that resembled Gamabunta. What's this? She took it from him. My spare key. So you can get my mail and stuff. Oh yeah. She placed it in her pocket and noticed him turn away. Leaving? Yeah, I got last-minute stuff to do. Sakura turned back to her door and turned the key. Sakura paused from her task and looked towards him. Naruto had his eyes on her for a brief moment but then quickly looked away to the sky, the door, then to the floor. "Yes?" she asked. Naruto scratched his head. "Forget it." "What? What is it?" "Nah," he shook his head. "I'll tell you later." "Alright." Sakura opened the door to her apartment and took one step in. And suddenly, a weight fell over her body. He would be gone for 6 months. Ever since his return 3 years ago, he was always around. Now, she wrapped her arms around his neck in a hug. She would have to get used to not seeing him again. "Don't forget to write, okay?" "I won't," he promised, placing his hands on her waist. She pulled away and pulled a smile on her lips. "And don't do anything stupid." He grinned at her. "I won't," and his smile slowly faded as he said, "I'll come back soon so we can go find him." Sakura's eyes fell to the floor. "Go on now," Naruto told her. "Lock the door." "Good night, Naruto." "Good night, Sakura-chan." The moment she turned the lock, she heard the wave of footsteps, as if a man broke out in a run. When Sakura woke up, she came face to face with 4 familiar faces. They were young, framed in a wooden octagon. A masked silver hair man. A grimacing blonde with blue eyes. A pink-haired girl standing in the center. A raven-haired boy with a discontent expression. She closed her eyes for just a little longer. When she opened them again, she saw the splash of black. A pair of dark eyes were in her view, illuminated by the morning sun. Even 5 years later, Sasuke's eyes were still in her mind. Sakura adjusted the bag more securely over her shoulder. Armed with an all-purpose cleaner and a load of rags, Sakura turned the key and opened the door. It was a week since Naruto was in his apartment. She expected to see strange growth developing from the leftover top ramen cups and 2-week-old milk cartons. Cleaning his apartment the morning of her birthday was not her idea of fun. However, she had nothing to do until that evening, when the party started. To her immediate surprise, the apartment was relatively clean. There were a few haphazard placed items due to the commotion of packing, clothes, empty shuriken cases, scrolls laid out on the kitchen table. No food problems, no biological warfare to undergo. Sakura placed her bag on one of the chairs at the kitchen table. At the center of it stood a small cactus plant, nestled in a terracotta pot. She immediately recognized it as a gift from Gaara last year. The flowers were slightly wilting. How the hell does one kill a cactus? Sakura walked over to the sink, grabbed a cup from the drying rack and filled it with water. She returned to the plant and proceeded to feed it, pouring enough water to satisfy the plant's thirst. She drank the rest in a steady stream. After pulling the glass down, she proceeded to her task of cleaning. She rolled up the scrolls and tucked the loose-leaf pages in proper piles. He was going to be teaching a 3-man team, she noticed. His contract was unsigned but filled out, set upon his table. The idea of Naruto teaching children was bizarre. He might even teach them ultra-super sexy no jutsu. Sakura grimaced. As Sakura started collecting the clothes on the bed, she noticed a large, odd-shaped pile near the pillow. She gathered the pile towards her but paused when she saw a rectangular white box sitting near the headboard. She stepped closer and felt her eyes widened. On the card that was pasted to the front was, "To Sakura-chan 3." Sakura immediately dumped the clothes from her arms and reached for the box. She pulled the card open and read quietly. "Happy birthday. You've waited long enough for this. Please use it, okay, because it didn't come cheap. Naruto. P.S. Wear it when I come back for our ramen date." He didn't, did he? Sakura yanked the lid off the box and stared at the red-orange fabric before her. It was the jacket. The jacket from the store. The very same one she had been eyeing for weeks. When did? Wait, unless he ran to the store right after he dropped her off? But she would not put it past him, he always did things for her. Sakura's eyes softened as she reached for the jacket and pulled it out of the box. Immediately, she put it on, pulling her arms through the sleeves and zipping the front up to her chest. She peered around the room and looked to the nearest mirror. It was a wall mirror that hung right over his drawer of clothes. She proceeded to lift her arms up and down, admiring how the jacket fit her like a glove. The size was perfect on her. She felt ecstatic, to say the least. Happy, excited, loved, all signs of gratitude to her old teammate. They really have come a long way. Was it only 7 years ago when they first joined the same team? When Naruto always obnoxiously tried to get everyone's attention? When their team was complete? Soon, Sakura thought, he changed in such a short amount of time. Or rather, her view of him changed in such a short amount of time. He always had this huge crush on her, but deep down inside, they all saw one another as family. A smile appeared on her face. He'll be back. Truth be told, she already missed him and it had only been a week. Sakura sighed as she watched her reflection put her fists in her side pockets. She felt a piece of paper crinkle underneath her fist. Her brow furrowed towards her nose as she picked up the piece of paper. Did he leave the receipt in here? When she pulled out her hand, it was not just one piece of paper. It was 3 pieces in her hand, each folded in a square. Sakura picked one up and unfolded it. I love how you look when you're healing someone, you look so cool. That was Naruto's handwriting, she realized. She then opened the other one she pulled out. I love how you always have extra money just in case I need someone to spot me for lunch. I love when I have a sandwich, you're always so nice to take the smaller half. Curious, she dug deeper in her left pocket and found 2 more pieces of paper. I love the way you look when you're in battle, scary and sexy all at once. I love how you're strong like Tsunade no Bachan, but I hope you don't look like her by the time you're 56. Before she knew it, Sakura found herself laughing out loud. And then, she became curious. She dropped to the floor, placing the 5 slips of paper on the floor and dug into the other pocket. Inside were 5 more, she unfolded them and set them on the floor as she read through each one. I love the way your eyebrows furrow together right before you sock me. I love the way you roll your eyes and smile whenever I ask you out. I love how you like ramen, like me. I love how you come back all sweaty and dirty after a mission and still look hot. I love how you're always in my head when I should be thinking about my missions. She could not help but laugh at these words Naruto left her. She could imagine him tapping his feet to an internal tune as he wrote on slips of paper, while sitting on the very same table to her right. Wait, she wondered. That was all of them, right? Sakura popped open the right breast pocket and reached in. Sure enough, she felt another piece and pulled it out. I love how you carve rabbit ears on my apple slices. Sakura grinned. When she thought about it, whenever she was in the hospital, Sakura always had a tendency to peel the skin upwards and cut them so twin long ears protruded out of one end of the wedge. He would always grin with a thank you, but she never realized he liked it that much. She reached deeper in her right breast pocket. I love how just looking at you makes me feel strong. I love it when you smile, it's like the whole world smiles with you. I love it when you nag, it gives me a chance to hear your voice really loud. She could not help but laugh, amused by how desperate Naruto sounded. I love it when you say hi to me because I know that for a second, I was on your mind. Her laughter fell. It may have sounded like desperation, but upon second look, she couldn't help but marvel at the adoration Naruto had for her. The ones in the side pockets seemed to have a sillier tone, these new ones were definitely more romantic in nature. Sakura reached over to her left breast pocket, popping it open and found more to read. I love how I can be in a room full of people but you're always the first person I look for. I love when you tell me don't do anything stupid, when we both know that's code for be careful. Suddenly, she recalled her last words to him last week. I love the way you make it seem like the sun's shining when it's been down for hours. I love how I'll catch myself smiling for no reason, only to realize I've been thinking of you. I love how I know what love it since you've been in my life. Sakura was floored. She sat with the cold wood underneath her bottom and 20 bits of paper set out in front of her. 20 phrases of Naruto, 20 proclamations of love. Sakura did not know what to make of it. She knew Naruto's feelings since they were children. He had a huge, gigantic undisputed crush on her. But he was such a clumsy oaf, she never took him seriously. But as the years moved on and they both matured, she found herself admiring him, while he always remained steady and unmoving. He was like a rock to her, a close companion, practically family. She could trust him. And even as they grew older, he made it no secret that he was still deeply interested in her. Jokes about dates and setting up marriage became so commonplace in their conversation. Sakura had learned to brush his comical advances aside. Except when he said things in a sincere voice. She could not find the initiative to dismiss him, for whatever reason. These words he wrote, his sincere and honest words. She began to feel a little guilty. Perhaps, behind his jokes, he was really serious about her? How could she have been so casual with him? But his words were truly sweet, she could tell he wrote every single word from the bottom of his heart. He deserved 10 ramen bowls, she smiled to herself as she fully unzipped the jacket. It was only then when she noticed an inner left breast pocket tucked tightly in the quilted lining. I wonder. Sakura inserted 2 fingers into the pocket. And then, she found the 21st declaration of love. I love how you're patient enough to read all these. But one look at you, I could probably write 1,000,000 more. Before she knew it, Sakura's vision blurred with soft tears. So, what do you want to talk about? Sakura looked over to Ino from over a pile of flowers. There were dozens of them in an array of colors set out in front of her. She watched as Ino armed herself with a pair of scissors, wire, ribbons, and florist tape. Just some girl talk. How intriguing, Ino snuck in a smile as she held a long stem lilacs in hand. Does it involve a guy? Sakura mutely nodded her head. She reached in her pocket and pulled out a pink envelope folded in half. Without looking back at Ino, she handed it to her. Ino took it in hand and immediately opened it. What is this? She peered in and saw long slips of paper tucked inside the envelope. Ino sidestepped to an empty space on the shop's counter and poured the envelope's contents out. She picked up each slip of paper, laughing at some, smiling at others, widening her eyes at the remainder. Where did you get these? She asked Sakura when she read through the 20th one. I found them in the pockets of my jacket, Sakura told her as she reached for the inner breast pocket, pulling out the 21st one. And this one? That jacket? You mean from Naruto? Uzumaki, I'm gonna be Hokage Databeo. Naruto? Ino took the 21st from her, read it and gasped. It took her a few moments to finally jump out of her stupor and grin. Who would have thought he could be so romantic? Sakura put it in its original spot. She reached over to put the others back in the envelope. Believe me, I was just as surprised as you. So what does this mean now? What are you talking about? Naruto. You and he are gonna start dating now? Sakura paused. Please, pig, don't be ridiculous, she stumbled on her words, quickly shoving the pieces of paper back in the envelope and tucking it in her pocket. Why? Ino inquired. Is there someone else? Sakura looked up at her. Is it Sasuke-kun? A part of me will always love Sasuke-kun, no doubt about it. It's just, weird. What? Ino resumed to her task of making bouquets. What's so weird about this? I mean, it's not a secret that Naruto likes you. Remember last year for your birthday? He got all his summoning frogs to stand outside your window to sing happy birthday with him. I know. My neighbors weren't too happy about the noise, Sakura remembered the odd memory with a slight grimace. But this is the first time Naruto really proclaimed his feelings, at least the first time he sounded serious. It's like, he loves everything about me. And that makes you feel. Ino trailed off. Frankly, Sakura didn't know what to make of it. She only shrugged. I don't know, weird, confused. Ino's crystal eyes widened. Like. Sakura tried to formulate her words, like I've been so stupid but I don't know why. Ino said nothing at first, only to slowly take a silver wire and wrap it around a bundle of stems. I don't see the issue here, she told Sakura. I mean, Sasuke-kun was so cool and much better to admire, I think. Good-looking with deep, dark, penetrating eyes. She sighed audibly and continued. Naruto never was the type. He's so loud, annoying, clumsy. Not cool at all. That's not true, Sakura defended. One time he fell in the water. But there was this time, no, Akamaru bit him in the rear. Sakura tried to comb her mind of any time in which Naruto was cool, and just as she expected, she could not find one. The thing is, Naruto isn't about a cool demeanor. It's the heart he has for others. Sakura paused, recalling a year-old memory. Like one time, I managed to get a day off and Naruto was supposed to take me to the waterfalls just outside of Konoha. I was waiting all day and I was so upset that he stood me up. The next day at work, there was this little boy who was one of my patients and asked me if I knew Naruto. He asked me to thank him. It turned out that this boy fell from a tree and broke his arm. Naruto found him and took him to the hospital. The boy was so scared, so Naruto stayed with him the whole day until his parents came back from a mission. Before she knew it, a crystal vase was set out in front of Sakura's view. She could see her reflection clear as day, obstructing her view from Ino. What are you doing? Ino pulled the vase away and set it back into the counter's shelf. Did you get a good look at yourself? What do you mean? You were talking about Naruto with warm eyes and a soft smile. It's pretty clear to me. What is? That the cool type doesn't do it for you anymore, Ino elaborated with a knowing smile on her face. Before Sakura knew it, she took a step back from the counter. You mean, no way. That's impossible, Naruto? I don't feel that way for him. I love Sasuke-kun. I always will. She had not talked to Ino in days. Frankly, she was too upset with it all. She had received one letter from Naruto, telling her he was working hard, of the various drunks he had to beat up once, and the old tavern lady who gave him free lunch. He also told her not to write back since he'd be on the move every few days, and therefore would not have an address to receive mail from. And he had yet to mention the jacket or its contents. She supposed it would be useless, seeing as she could not send him a response. Since when did Naruto transform into some romantic hero? It kind of made her sick, thinking about Ino's implications. Liking Naruto, well, it was laughable. Well, not entirely laughable. Hinata had a crush on him a while back, Sakura realized. And it was not as if Naruto was a bad guy. Quite the contrary, Sakura knew he was good, but her heart was accustomed with being in two pieces. Sakura was walking home from the hospital at night when she decided to take a break. She flopped down on the bench right across from the Ichiraka ramen stand. Your large forehead magnifies your furrowed brow. Sakura sent up a glare to the person standing not too far away. Not now, sigh, she balled her two hands in fists, placing them on her lap. I don't feel like arguing with you. You don't have to. I merely came to ask why you look so preoccupied. He took the liberty to sit on the very same bench. In the years they had known one another, Sakura had grown to understand Sai as each day went by. His unconventional rearing prevented him from social skills, so Sakura promised herself to always try with an extra thread of patience when it concerned him. She tried to fulfill her promise even today. Is it that obvious? Yes, definitely. Didn't I say it was magnified? With my large forehead. Yeah, she finished, trying her best to keep a sense of humor but failing. I've just been thinking about some stuff. She waited for a response and watched in her peripheral as Sai leaned back on the bench, draping an arm over the backrest. Aren't you going to ask what's been bothering me? No, because whether I ask or not, you would probably say it anyway. Sakura puffed her cheeks out. Never mind then. Very well. It's about Naruto. And Sasuke-kun. His face remained unchanged. I don't know what's wrong with me, Sakura sighed. I mean, I always had special feelings for Sasuke-kun. I don't know why whenever I think of Naruto, it's not just Naruto. It's Naruto plus something different. She turned to Sai only to see a blank expression. You don't get what I'm saying. I'm afraid not. Sakura's head leaned to the right, trying to clarify her thoughts. Sasuke-kun, he's beautiful, talented, smart, strong, his past is tragic, and although he's lost, I know deep down inside, he wants to come back. Sakura did not notice Sai momentarily shift his eyes away from her. And Naruto and I, well, to me, Naruto was always goofy and immature, but after a while, well, you get past all that. And he grew up. And most of all, he's loyal and caring. He's always been so supportive. She pivoted to face Sai, but even still, I can't feel romantic about him, you know. Of course not, it's hard to be romantic with someone who doesn't have a penis. Would you shut up with that? He has one. Within a few moments, she blushed, mortified. Sai smiled, his eyes shut closed. Really, he did not hide his amused tone. I was performing surgery on his inner thigh once, Sakura informed him. That's how I know. Sakura's eyes widened when she noticed Sai's smile remained. Would you get back on the subject here? And that would be? How I can't possibly have feelings for Naruto. Because you have feelings for Sasuke-kun? Yes. Even if it's been 3 or so years since we've last seen him, back at Orochimaru's lair? Yeah. And even if you're quite close to Naruto? Yeah. And you trust Naruto with everything? Sakura blinked. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you're making fun of me. Really? I suppose I'm displaying sarcasm in my voice correctly. Sai quietly straightened his jacket, satisfied with himself. Seriously, Sai, Sakura leaned forward, cradling her chin in her hands. I need a friend to talk to. I don't know what you want me to say, Sakura. Maybe that's the problem. She sat up straight, letting out a sigh of frustration. Be my friend, Sai. A true honest friend. Don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me what I need to hear. She took a deep breath and looked Sai straight in the eyes. Naruto has always been a true friend to me. Why am I feeling so confused? Sai looked away for a moment, turning to the lights of Ichiraka Ramen. He was quiet, collecting his thoughts as she waited patiently for his mouth to move. He exhaled. You said once that Sasuke-kun was your first love. But just because he's your first love, doesn't mean he's going to be your only, right? Sakura's eyes widened at his words. She couldn't find her own and only let her sight fall on the lit ramen stand in front of her. Dear Sakura-chan. How you doing? Konoha must be nice this time of year. I'm leaving Suna tomorrow morning. God, it's hot as hell here. Why would anyone live in the middle of the desert? If Gaara didn't live here, man, I wouldn't have bothered to show up. But this week has been fun. Sparring with the Kazekage in the morning, eating awesome feasts with him at night. Kankuro tried to introduce me to these girls, but don't worry, I only have eyes for you, wink wink. Staying here really opened my eyes. I got to see Gaara's view from his position as a leader and I can't help but feel fueled. It makes me want to get home quick and prove to the frickin' world that I'll be the best damn Hokage ever. But damn, I miss Konoha. I miss everyone. And you. I should make it a point not to travel alone. That's why I can't wait to come back and take you along. It'll be great. While we search, we could see the sights. Eat our meals together, share a tent. Heh, I get excited just thinking about it. I should be coming home in a week or 2. Remember, ramen. Naruto. Sakura could hear the rope squeaked as she set herself down on the swing seat. The view of the academies inside was dark. Iruka had locked up hours ago. She had walked into Naruto's apartment, only to quickly pick up his mail and walk out of the place, locking the door behind her. His presence was so strong, she couldn't handle it. For weeks, months even, she fought with herself, scolding herself for letting her feelings falter between 2 men. But damn, she couldn't control how her heart wavered when she was in his apartment or the mentioning of his name. Seeing his picture. Or when she saw a frog in the grass, for that matter. Before she knew it, he had gotten to her. She kicked her feet from the ground underneath her, causing her body to swing back and forth. Memories started pouring in, like a water faucet set on full blast. The blonde boy her parents told her to stay away from. The boy who talked big and dreamed big. Naruto, who was on her team. Naruto, who promised to reunite their broken family. Naruto, who cried alongside her. Naruto, who comforted her at her parents' funeral. Naruto, who always asked her out. Naruto, who made her laugh. Naruto, who worshipped her. Naruto, who would go to hell and back for her. It was as if the curtains were lifted from her eyes and dawn filled her vision. For years, Naruto worshipped and cherished her like some sort of angel. Sakura only realized then that she too cherished him. He was a source of strength, sturdy and true, like a rock. How could she have not seen that? Naruto was her ground, her foundation, and she could not live without him. But Sasuke? What about Sasuke? She loved him. But was it impossible to love more than one person? The two boys were very different, affecting her in different ways. While Sasuke made her heart rush, Naruto made her comfortable. While Sasuke made her heart feel so much agony, Naruto did everything he could to soothe it. So, what really is love? She asked out loud. She did not know. After months of wondering, Sakura came to a realization. These new feelings for Naruto were never new. They were a slow progression, a process contained with years of bickering and comfort. It wasn't completely impossible to love two men, right? Sakura stepped off the swing and headed home. Naruto was returning tomorrow, she wanted to get a good night's rest. Sakura-san? She blinked. Yes, Shizune-san? Are you alright? Sakura's eyes returned to the mortar and pestle before her and then continued her task of mixing herbs together. I'm fine. She peered at her work, realizing she had yet to turn it into a paste. Sakura grind the ingredients together. Naruto isn't back yet, her teacher asked when she walked in. Sakura regarded her teacher's appearance, then continued her task. She shook her head quietly. Shouldn't he have been back a week ago? Tsunade added. I think I've just been anxious, that's all. Sakura divided exact equal measurements of the paste and dropped them in small vials. We were supposed to leave together soon. I wouldn't worry too much. Tsunade reached for a book at the bottom shelf and skimmed through the table of contents. He's probably looking for the perfect souvenir for you. She turned to her student and smiled. He's such an idiot, Sakura said without any malice. What do you mean, prepare for the worst? Tsunade sat quietly in her chair right behind her desk. She knew bearing bad news came with the territory as Hokage, but she hated the expression her pink-haired student was giving her. No one has seen him, Sakura. But this is Naruto we're talking about. Sakura felt her heart jump to her esophagus. He can't just die. There's no trace of him. He could have been captured. Sakura gulped. You mean the Akatsuki? Tsunade held her head up, eyes to the ceiling. I was stupid to allow him to leave. She turned back to the girl before her. I'll send Kakashi out for information and by next week, I'll send out a search party. I want to be on that assignment, Sakura insisted. I figured as much. Tsunade showed her the paperwork, showing her name, along with Hatake Kakashi and Inuzuka Kiba. Still, Sakura, I'm telling you to prepare for the worst. She was scrubbing down a stain off the wooden floor by the time it started to hail. Naruto should have been back 3 months ago. So where was he? I think it's about time we head back home. Sakura stopped dead in her tracks, crushing the twig underneath her foot. You sure about that? Kiba glanced over to Sakura, then back to their team leader. We do have cold leads, Shino added. But didn't we figure his last whereabouts were heading northwest from Suna, straight to Konoha? Kiba added. He can't be that far off. Unless he wandered off his path, Kakashi suggested. Sakura swallowed. Like Otogekure? All 3 men turned to her. The sudden image of an older man with a long, vicious tongue slithered into their minds. I wouldn't see why, Kakashi explained. Orochimaru is dead. I don't see why Naruto may chase after Sasuke there. But sensei, she exclaimed. This doesn't feel right. It's as if Naruto fell off the face of the earth. He may have gotten kidnapped then, Kiba said out loud while stroking Akamaru behind the ears. Her heart paused. A blurry image of Naruto's figure writhing in pain came to mind. Then we have to find them, she said with her lip in a thin line. Akamaru barked. Oh my god, you're nuts, Kiba rolled his eyes away from Sakura. He's rubbing off on you. That's too dangerous, only with the four of us, Shino interjected. Sakura watched as Kakashi approached her from a few feet in front of her. Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi's hands rested upon her shoulders. Sakura. I know you're scared, but there is nothing more here that we can do. Let's go home. She felt as if that month-long search was in vain. What if it were true? What if the Akatsuki got to him? She remembered how Gaara looked after the Jinchuriki was extracted from his body. Naruto was as good as dead without her. Thunder crashed and the room's lights flickered. No, she couldn't think like that. She had to be positive. But if he was really gone, she would have never known what could have been. As Sakura looked to the floor, she realized the spot she was scrubbing was not a stain at all, but a dark spot on the wood. She sat up, her feet tucked under her bottom as she threw the rag down. She gave up cleaning for the night, she couldn't concentrate. A part of her was wondering if she should have accepted Ino's New Year's party invitation. They would all have a late dinner at her house and then head over to the temple at midnight. Frankly, she wanted to be alone. After that mission, Sakura did not want company. She could have gone to the temple at least and asked for Naruto's safe return, but being here in Naruto's living space was like being embraced in his presence. Slightly scattered with random paraphernalia, but filled with character and warmth. God, she missed him. She wanted to see him again. She already lost one teammate, she didn't want to lose another. Even if she did see him, what would she say? I love Sasuke-kun, but I love you as well. It sounded horrible in her head, twice as horrible out loud. Doesn't matter if it were the truth, it didn't sound very pleasing. But she wanted to talk to him. She wanted to tell him that she missed him terribly these past 9 months. She wanted to confess to him that she finally realized his importance, that he was her foundation, her solid ground, and even though she wasn't good at showing it, she appreciated his adoration. Lightning crashed and then the lights went out. Perfect. She muttered. Using the moonlight coming through the window, she crawled over to the bed and sat down on it. Curious, she laid down, feeling the old mattress give under her weight. Sakura rested her head on the pillow and subconsciously took a deep breath. Ah, so that's what he usually smelled of, his detergent. And the sudden realization that she may not smell him, hear him, touch him, see him. She could feel a stinging sensation pool in the corners of her eyes. Sakura let the scent of Naruto's sheets calm her heart and mind to a gradual sleeping spell. She was vaguely aware of a presence in the room, but the presence didn't feel threatening, so she did not move. She could have sworn she heard a soft voice telling her to scoot over. She could have sworn she felt warmth, like a breathing blanket, being wrapped around her trunk. And she may have been imagining things, but she may have heard a steady heartbeat and the whispering of a voice. Don't kill me, alright, the male pleaded softly, just please, for the next few hours, let's stay like this. Can I just pretend you're mine? And that I can keep you? After this. The voice broke gently, choked, and then released a ragged breath. After this, no more. I promise. Was the roof leaking? She could feel drops fall onto her left temple. Her eyes felt so heavy as she forced them open. She expected to wake up face to face with her striped wallpaper or her stuffed teddy bear from childhood. Instead, she found the face of a snoring man sleeping beside her. Man sleeping beside her. Sakura let out a scream, punching him in the face, sending the man to the floor. It took a few minutes to realize that she was not in her room and the man who now sat cradling his face indeed had blonde hair. It was before 7 in the morning, but Sakura's thought process began to work. Oh my god. Naruto, she jumped off the bed and launched herself at him, hugging him tightly around the neck. Ow. Ow. Knee. Crotch. The hell, he exclaimed in quick bursts, hunched over due to the pain. Sakura pulled back. Sorry. And then she shoved him hard in the shoulder. What the hell is your problem? You were supposed to have come back in October. I got sidetracked, he said, scratching the back of his head. For 3 months? Sakura raised her voice, holding him by the collar. I had good reason. You didn't even write. We even went out on a recon mission to find you. I thought you were lost. Sorry. Or killed. Or worse than that, kidnapped by the Akatsuki, then slowly killed. Sakura's voice seemed to rise with each passing second. I didn't mean to take dot. We were all so damn worried. How the hell did you think it felt, thinking you were dead? Sakura's eyes watered up as her worries began to pile up full force. Although, relief showed up, seeing him before her, it was all too much to handle. Naruto reached out to her shoulders and held her down. Look, I'm sorry, but listen, alright? Sakura hiccuped. I'm sorry I made you worry, but I had no choice. I had to take the chance. Chance? Yeah. With Sasuke. Her eyes widened at the familiar name. Sasuke-kun? What about him? Naruto took a long deep breath before admitting, I ran into him. I fought him. And I brought him back with me. The words did not fully compute in her head. What? What? I brought him back to Konoha, he told her again. He's back. She could feel a new set of tears welling in her eyes. Where is he? At the hospital. I'll take you to him. The next few minutes were like a rush. They had locked the door behind them and they quickly jogged to their destination. As they did, Naruto explained what had been happening for the past 3 months. As he was passing nearby river country, he heard Sasuke was close. He had tracked him down throughout 4 different countries before battling him in Lightning Country. The whole time, Sakura couldn't believe it. Although a part of her was relieved of Sasuke's return, she couldn't help but wonder how he would react to being in Konoha. Their last encounter years ago was so cold. Frankly, she was scared of Sasuke's indifferent stare. He led her to a room at the north end of the 2nd floor. He passed 2 ANBU soldiers standing outside the room and opened the door, letting her in. There, lying on the solitary white bed was her lost teammate. Sakura's heart leaped to her mouth. She slowly stepped to his side, almost afraid that it was an illusion and that it was not him. His face was longer with age, new and old scars marred his skin, it looked like Sasuke. Sasuke-kun. She muttered, almost afraid her voice would break the sight of him before her. His closed eyes tightened and then relaxed, slowly fluttering open, revealing his dark eyes. He took a moment to drink in his surroundings, including the company in the room. Slowly, he sat up with his own strength and turned his eyes to her. Sakura. His dark eyes. His voice. It was really him. She leaped towards him, wrapping her arms around his shoulders. Sakura let go of her tears, letting them fall on his bare shoulder. She couldn't believe it. It was real, he was real. She always wondered what it would be like to see him again, wondered when he would come back. He felt thin and he looked as if he had not received enough sleep in years. But his skin was warm, he was warm, his body was real. The thought reassured her, causing tears of joy to fall. Sasuke-kun. She muttered his name again. Sasuke blinked, slowly reached his hand up to her head and ran his fingers gently through the ends of her hair. Slowly, he let his forehead fall towards the side, letting his temple fall against hers. She heard the faint sound of a door, quietly being closed. Sakura was about to turn her head but froze when she felt Sasuke move. He reached up to her, cradling her jaw in his hands, holding her steady as he lightly pressed his forehead to hers. "I'm home," he whispered. Sakura nodded, forcing herself to breathe. "Welcome home." She pulled him in for another hug, holding him close. It was a dream come true for Sakura. Ino even noticed her upbeat mood due to his recent return. "Not that I blame you," Ino smiled as she gathered flowers in a bouquet for the patient. "I'd be happy too if I had a second chance." The thought of a second chance made Sakura blush. She recalled seeing Sasuke a few days ago. When she hugged him, he actually responded back. He held her close, looked deep into her eyes. He was so affectionate, at least for his standards, a side Sakura never saw even in their youth. Where did it come from? Could it have been years of awkwardness, melted away? Maybe the sudden realization of her importance to him? And what if his signs of affection were just a fluke? She had just wanted to see him earlier in the week but was denied access. All visitors must be cleared by the Hokage no matter what, the ANBU soldiers said. Immediately, she headed to the Hokage's office at the large town hall. She made her way down the familiar path to Tsunade's office, to the 5th floor, east wing. She knocked on the large wooden doors and called out, "Shursho?" She opened it and peered into the office. Tsunade was sitting at her desk, with another person in the room facing her. Both figures turned to the open door Sakura stood at. "Oh." Sakura met eyes with the blonde man and apologized, "I'm sorry, I'll come back later," and closed the door behind her. Naruto? What was he doing here? Sakura took a few steps off to the side, to an empty wall space near the door and leaned back, the wall catching her weight. Now that she thought about it, it had been a few days since she had seen Naruto, not since. The sound of the door opening reached her ears and she watched Naruto turn and walk down the hall, eyes to the floor. She blinked, paused and then called to him. "Naruto," she approached him. Naruto paused for a second before pivoting on his heels, facing her. "Hey," he greeted. "Whatcha doin' here?" "I came here to get clearance to visit Sasuke-kun," she answered honestly. "And ask if I could be his main caretaker." "You?" "Turned in my teaching application," Naruto informed. A faint memory of some paperwork found in his room came to mind. "Oh, that's right." Teaching Genin, she watched him nod and slowly turn his head to the side. To her, he looked distracted, detached in fact, from his current physical state, as if his mind was too preoccupied. Hey, she had been meaning to ask him since the day he brought her to Sasuke, "Why did you leave the room? We could have talked, all of us." "Oh." Naruto looked down, a frown forming on his face. "I, had something to do." "But even after that?" "I mean, it's been about 4 years. Sakura-chan, we're men. We don't talk," he explained. "We try to kick each other's asses, laugh, and repeat." And then, Naruto pulled a grin to his face, while gently nudging her in the shoulder. "Besides, I know you two wanted to be alone." It felt as if someone threw an ice cube down Sakura's back. Something didn't seem right as Sakura watched him talk, his lips pulled in a grin. His eyes didn't match his expression. They weren't in unison with his lips, Sakura realized upon closer inspection. "Are you?" She trailed off, looking over him once more, realizing his skin was just as scarred as Sasuke. "Are you okay?" He must have noticed where her eyes moved because he lifted his arm, flexing it. "Oh, don't worry, I'm fine." "But dot. Oi, Tsunade no Bachan is expecting you," he interrupted. "You might want to go in there." For a second, she forgot the reason of her visit. "Right. But Naruto, if you need me, just come by tomorrow and I'll see what I can do." "Okay? Will do," and patted her on the shoulder. "See ya." He walked down the hall until he was out of sight. It felt as if she was bathed in a bucket of ice. With a hand to the door, she opened it and peered in, seeing the godame sitting at her desk, drowning in piles and piles of paper. "Ah." "Sakura," Tsunade acknowledged her presence. Sakura greeted her teacher. Sure show, I was wondering. Before Sakura could finish, Tsunade produced an envelope from the middle of a pile from the right side of her desk. I had it prepared so you would start as soon as possible. What are those? Permission forms. You are allowed to be Uchiha Sasuke's primary caretaker, which also gives you visitation privileges during his stay in the hospital and any future holding facilities. Tsunade looked up from the piece of paper she was signing before her. Or did I guess wrong? No. Sakura hesitantly reached out and took the envelope. Thank you. But how did you know? Tsunade shrugged. I've trained you for how long now? I think I can safely say I know how your mind works sometimes. At this, Sakura smiled, said her thanks once again and left her office. It felt strange walking in his room a second time. She had shown documentation to the ANBU members before letting her in. It was as if she obtained some exclusive privileges. It had been a full week since his return. Sakura walked in that morning to find Sasuke asleep. Careful not to disturb him, she quietly pulled up a chair and sat up at the end table to his left. From her tote, she pulled out a small dish, an apple and a paring knife. She sat down and began her task of carving wedges out of the fruit. When 6 wedges were neatly lined up on the plate, she placed the knife back in the bag. At the same time, Sasuke began to wake. Sakura stood from her chair and joined his bedside. Sasuke opened his eyes and immediately turned to his company. Sakura? She smiled. Good morning. How are you doing? Better, he answered while sitting up. I'm going to check your vitals, alright, she informed him. You? Sakura nodded. I'm your primary caregiver. His shoulders seemed to relax as he let her work. She checked his heart rate and breathing, asking him to lean forward or back during his procedure. She could feel his eyes on her the whole time she performed her task. You're a medic, mean? She smiled briefly. A good one, if I do say so myself. I trained under Tsunade Shirsho. The Godame? She nodded, the parallel of generations not lost to her. She was positive he was aware of it, too. Not too much damage to your muscles, I didn't see any tears. You and Naruto sure had it all out, huh? The truth was, she hated the idea of fighting between the two of them, at least. Naruto and Sasuke fighting was not a new sight to her, but even still, she always felt as if she had to choose a side. Yeah, he spoke, eyes gazing off to the side. He blinked, noticing the apple slices, along with her preparation work. Are those mine? With ears. It was a statement with zero emotion behind it. Sakura realized her mistake. Sorry, it's a habit. I usually cut apples for. The sudden image of Naruto, wrapped in bandages from head to toe, popped in her head. My young patients. All week I had kids to take care of. Wait. Why did she lie? Sakura stepped away. If you want, I can get you another. No, it's fine, Sasuke said gently. It's nice. His own brow creased, puzzled as what to say. He reached out to the apple, took one long look at the wedge in hand before taking a bite. It was cute, Sakura thought, watching Sasuke awkwardly eat the childish-looking bits of fruit. In the blink of an eye, she remembered seeing Naruto once laughing at the apple slices. She took a deep breath. I'll be back in a bit. She exited Sasuke's room and headed straight to the garden for some fresh air. Did you see Naruto's new 3-man team? Sakura shook her head. Oh, already? Apparently so, Sai sat across the table. It was lunchtime as they sat at the cafeteria. They had just finished their meals as they continued with another round of tea. His students' assignments was a teamwork exercise by having them try to retrieve 2 bells from him. An excited smile fell on her face. The bell test. You know of it? That's what Kakashi-sensei did to us when we were still genin, she exclaimed. Naruto, me, and Sasuke-kun. That's when it started, correct? Your bonds, Sai affirmed. It seemed strange to an outsider. Sai was always curious about relationships and bonds between people. To this day, he never quite understood the Naruto-Sasuke dynamic. A part of her believed that Sai left roots to spend more time with Naruto, to get closer to him, and have bonds of his own. Yes, she answered fondly. Sasuke-kun and I were the closest ones to the bells. Naruto was tied to a pole for punishment by the lunchtime hour, and we had to eat our bentos in front of him. The mental image caused her to laugh. She could still see a young Naruto spazzing out, his stomach grumbling like crazy. And then young Sasuke offering some food to Naruto, saying Naruto was no use to them if he was hungry. And her young self having to feed Naruto due to his restraints. Sai watched Sakura's face expression soften as she told him of her memories. So, how is it that you haven't spoken to Naruto? What do you mean? Her tongue tasted the roasted flavor of the green tea as she brought the cup to her lips. You and Naruto usually see each other quite often. Now, this has changed. Well, of course, I mean with Sasuke-kun back. Trying to repair our friendship, that takes time and energy. So you've made your decision? Sakura froze. What? Between Sasuke-kun and Naruto, Sai took a sip of his own tea. Do you remember our conversation last year? You were confused between your existing feelings for Sasuke-kun and your budding feelings for Naruto. Sakura's eyes widened and she looked around the room in panic. Shush. You're not supposed to say stuff like that out loud. She took a deep breath and whispered, a girl's emotions are very private. Oh. Sai said innocently, taking a mental note to what she said. So then, you've chosen? Sakura shook her head. I didn't choose either of them. But you're spending an awful amount of time with Sasuke-kun. It's part of my job. You applied to the Hokage to specifically be his caretaker. I have to repair my bonds, remember? Even if it meant for the price of Naruto's? We've just been so busy, Naruto and I haven't had time to talk. It's not on purpose. Really? Because during your hours after work, you're with Sasuke-kun. Damn, he was spying on her? Are you having me watched? No, I'm not having you watched, I'm doing it myself, Sai admitted without shame. I predicted you would choose Naruto. Sakura blinked. Why would you think that? Because he always held you in the highest regard, Sai answered. And your relationship with him seemed very strong. But I suppose that theory holds true, in regards to you. Theory, she said slowly. That women ignore men who adore them as these same women gravitate to men who treat them like crap. What? But, he continued, interrupting her right before she exploded, things changed once Sasuke-kun came into the picture again. No, you're wrong, Sakura shook her head. I haven't been thinking about them like that because... Well, it's just too difficult. The idea of choosing makes me sick. Your choice is easy once you actually put a practical mind to it. Sakura watched him with tentative eyes. There will come a day when Sasuke-kun has to face his sentence, which could possibly result in jail time. Sai finished his tea and looked straight at her. A jail sentence doesn't quite promote a normal future. Something inside her began to sync with his words. I don't know. Of course, there is a foolproof way of figuring the better man for you. Sakura met him eye to eye, fully attentive to his words. Stay with the fellow who has a bigger penis, Sai chimed with an unapologetic smile on his face. Her teacup sailed to his head, knocking him to the floor in 1 second flat. Sakura hated to admit when Sai got to her. Aside from the penis jokes, there was some truth to his words. She had not spoken to Naruto in a while. Sakura stood quietly at the counter, holding a phone against her ear. She had waited for a few rings before it picked up. How the hell does this war? Oh, hey, this is Uzumaki. Leave a message. Sakura inhaled. Naruto, this is Sakura. Just wondering how you are. Maybe we could see each other sometime? Or go for ramen. She felt compelled to say something more but words failed her. Just, call me whenever. Bye. She gave the phone back to the receptionist at the counter and left. Maybe this week wasn't the best, she realized. With Sasuke back and Naruto's introduction to his three-man cell, finding some social time could prove to be difficult. Sakura would just have to be patient. Sakura could feel his eyes on her. She was reading over his charts quietly at the end of his bed, her back turned to him. As soon as she had her back to him, those cold chills ran down her neck, the hair standing on end. Sakura peered over to Sasuke, who was staring at her without any inhibitions. Sakura smiled at him. "Do you need anything, Sasuke-kun?" He shook his head. Quietly, she turned back to the charts. Just then, a knock came to the door. "Yes?" Sakura called to the door, allowing entrance. The beige door slid open and in stepped a familiar figure with a familiar set of blue eyes. "Naruto." Sakura immediately put down the chart and approached Naruto. "What are you doing here?" "Kind of an official visit," he replied with an apprehensive look. Sakura picked it up right away. She reached out to his arm. "Are you okay?" His blue eyes immediately turned to her, then to her outreached hand and then over to Sasuke. "Yeah, I'm fine," he said as he stepped away. "I just need to talk to him for a second." "Unless you need to do something now?" "It's okay," Sakura said. "I'll just go. Stay," came Sasuke's voice. "You can stay." She looked between the two men. Suddenly, the air in the room grew very heavy. Naruto approached Sasuke and pulled out an envelope from his vest. "It's your trial summons. Basically, I'll escort you to the village hall in 2 days, where Tsunade no Bachan and the council will sentence you." Sasuke snatched the envelope from him and opened it, pulling out the summons addressed to him. As he quietly read it, Sakura watched Naruto's eyes turn to her, gazing at her. Sakura blinked. Sasuke looked up from the piece of paper. "I have a chance to speak on my behalf?" Naruto jerked his head, quickly turning to Sasuke. "Huh? Yeah." Sasuke narrowed his eyes at his former teammate. The message turned into a ball in his fist and he let out a deep exhale. His other hand drummed onto his own knee as he gazed off, looking straight ahead of him to the wall in his room. "You gonna run away now?" Naruto asked with a smirk on his face. "Tsh," Sasuke returned the smirk, "I never run away." The air suddenly changed again to the familiar colors and electricity Sakura often saw in her youth. The competitiveness heightened in the room. As strange as it sounded, it was a welcoming sight to Sakura. So long as they weren't fighting to the death, everything would be fine. Sasuke-kun should be healing soon. How about the 3 of us go out to eat at Ichiraku, like old times? We'll even invite Kakashi-sensei and see if we can get him to pay. Nay, she turned to Naruto with a smile. He inhaled deeply, then turned away from the both of them. "Sure, I gotta go." "So soon?" Sakura followed Naruto as he walked to the door. "Yeah. Gotta meet with my team. New D-rank mission." "Oh, okay. Well, good luck with them." "Yeah," he gave a look to Sasuke and then one last look at Sakura before closing the door behind him. "Maybe you shouldn't be making plans like that," Sasuke warned her. "What?" Sakura turned to him. "Things like plans for ramen," he elaborated. "I could be put in prison by then." "No," she exclaimed and immediately ran to his side. "Tsunade Shirsho is a tough woman, but she's merciful too. She'll listen to you. After all, she let us go on missions so we could find you." "It's not her," Sasuke admitted, "it's the council members I'm concerned about." Sakura's eyes turned to the floor. There was no arguing that, she admitted to herself. "Sakura." Sasuke called out to her. "If I go to jail. You won't." "Sakura," he called again, silencing her. "If I go to jail, would things change?" The time in the room seemed to stand still. The way Sasuke gazed at her, he stared as if he needed her to say something. She stared back at him too, wondering what he was saying, trying to find his real question. Would things change? In his life? In hers? In theirs? Was that what he was talking about? Things would remain the same, Sasuke-kun. I would still be here for you. Something flickered in his eyes and he roughly pulled the sheets off his body, swung his legs over the edge, and let his feet touch the floor. He stood in haste. Sakura's eyes widened as she dashed to him. Her arms reached out to his shoulders, hoping to hold him down. SAS. Sasuke's hand reached out to her wrist and he clutched it. If I don't go to jail, he stood close to her, casting shadows on her face, will things change? Heat rushed up her neck within a quick heartbeat. The close proximity, the intense gaze of his eyes. Sakura had to pull her eyes away to find her voice. Slowly, he sat back down on his bed, her hand in his. The world slowed down for Sakura as she memorized the feeling of Sasuke's warm fingers around her wrist. This was probably another fluke, she thought, of Sasuke reaching out for her. And Sasuke letting go of her wrist to wrap his arms around her, that was another fluke. It took a few moments for her to realize that it was not just a fluke or even her imagination. Sasuke-kun? Ever so slowly, Sasuke's arms snaked around her waist, pulling her to his body. He leaned forward, resting his head against her heart, listening to its beats, syncing his breathing with hers. He released a strained breath. Sasu. She breathed, Sasuke-kun? He remained silent. She could feel his grip, holding on to fistfuls of her shirt fabric in his hands. His arms, they were shaking. Was he actually scared of prison? Of the prospect of losing his freedom? Of never seeing the outside world again? Sakura could feel her heart breaking at the thought. Her fingers gingerly brushed through his hair, massaging his scalp before resting her chin upon his head. The room she sat in was quite small compared to the rest of the hearing rooms. The roof sat low over their heads, with only a few rows of benches, able to sit approximately 50 people in the audience. At the other end of the room was a large chair sandwiched between 2 rows of benches, reserved for the Hokage and the council. Sasuke sat in another chair in the very middle of the room, facing the Hokage's seat. Sakura watched from the back of the room as Naruto took a seat close to Sasuke, at the very front of the audience section. A door from the side opened and in stepped Godame and other council members. They were different representatives of the village, from head of large clans to government officials, all 12 of them sitting on either side of the Hokage. Sakura always felt a slight discomfort during council meetings. It was even worse with this private hearing, with all its attention to the raven-haired man sitting before them. She wanted to reach out to help him but she had no clue how. All right, we can begin, Tsunade said. Uchiha Sasuke. You are charged with first-grade treason, leaving Konohagakure and allying yourself to Orochimaru of Otogakure. How do you plea? Wait, came a voice. Sakura's eyes widened and watched as Naruto stood to his feet. Pissed, she leaned forward and hissed towards him, 2 rows in front of her. Naruto. Sit down. But he didn't hear her, or he was ignoring her. Before you say anything, he told the council, I want to say a couple of things about Sasuke. Tsunade exchanged a few looks among her council members. When there was no protest, all right, sure. What do you have to say? Sakura's heart began to beat faster than when she first arrived in the room. Naruto remained standing in his spot at the audience bench. He scratched the back of his neck and then placed both hands on the railing in front of him. Sasuke here, he pointed to the man in question, is an idiot. Sasuke tried his best not to show a change in his expression, the corner of his mouth momentarily flinched. Sakura's eyes widened. And not only a regular idiot, Naruto added. But a huge idiot, he stressed the vowel on huge. Sakura slapped the palm of her hand to her forehead. Oh god, Sasuke was going to jail for sure. The thing is, Naruto continued, when we were fighting, well, at the end of it, we ended up at a tie. We were lying on the ground and I asked him now what? And he told me let's go home. He didn't say Otogakure. And he's back here and he hasn't left or made any attempt to leave. He's here to face you all. Sakura pulled her hands away from her face. So yeah, he's an idiot, but an idiot with a duty to come back and do what he needs to do. And if you all can't see that, then you all are idiots too. And he quietly sat down. Sakura sank in her seat, gripping the bench backrest in front of her. Not only would Sasuke go to jail, but he would be tortured, Sakura thought grimly. The entire council looked at him with disapproving looks. Tsunade raised her eyebrows, not too surprised at his outburst. The other members' eyes were wide or narrowed, shocked or mentally condescending Naruto for his harsh words. Tsunade coughed. Well. Tsunade frowned. In any case, Sasuke, do you have anything to say in regards to your actions? Sasuke sat quietly, his eyes straight to the Hokage and the council. After a few moments, he opened his mouth and spoke. I'm not sorry that I left. I did what I thought was right for my clan's honor. And I did just that, I did whatever I could to Itachi. I left this village, there is no explanation or excuse. So in that, I am guilty. I'm not here to beg for forgiveness or to be let off the hook. He sat up proudly, I throw myself at the mercy of the Hokage and her council. Sakura watched quietly, as the council members sat and glanced at one another after Sasuke's speech. The council is going to discuss for a final verdict, the man to Tsunade's right announced. All 12s and the Hokage stood from their seats and retreated to a door at the side of the room. When the door closed, the intensity of the room immediately dropped. Sakura sat very still and so did Sasuke. Naruto, on the other hand, was the opposite. He was pacing near his spot on the bench, paced up and down the main aisle, and he even engaged himself with throwing a kunai into the porous ceiling and jumping to retrieve it. Half an hour passed and Naruto sat down on a seat so he could have a side view of Sasuke. Hey. Sasuke turned his eyes to his right peripheral. When you go, I'll see if I can get you a nice holding cell with a TV. Or something, Naruto smiled at his own joke. Sasuke shook his head and rolled his eyes. The side door swung open and the Team 7's eyes turned to the re-entering council members. They all quietly assembled in front of their seats and waited for the Hokage to sit in her own chair. When she did, they followed suit. Stand, Sasuke, Tsunade requested. As he did, Sakura's heart started that rapid, irregular beating again. Her nerves started to shake and she didn't even realize she was holding her breath. Uchiha Sasuke, Tsunade continued. After deliberation, the Council of Konoha finds you guilty of treason. And frankly, it's quite deserving. The moment you graduate from the academy, you are a ninja, a soldier of your village. To abandon your village is a great dishonor that cannot be erased. However, she stared directly at him, despite the stares she received from the council. However, even if it cannot be erased, it can be forgiven. Murmurs erupted from the council. Sakura's heart stopped for a second. We do expect quite a lot from our young ninjas. Tsunade raised her voice slightly over the council, hushing them, and then returned to a normal volume, and given your personal circumstances, it is understandable why you chose your path. We often forget that the strength of a village lies in its unity, and not how absolute or tyrannical the sitting government is. And often unity would mean sacrifice, forgiveness, and second chances. Was Sakura hearing her right? So here's my sentence for you, Sasuke, you are to remain within the walls of Konoha for 5 years, 3 months, and 13 days, the amount of time you have been gone. You may not participate in ranking exams during that time. You may live in the same housing you did prior to your departure. You will have to report to my office after your hospital stay to receive instructions regarding your income and occupation. Your income and occupation will be determined only by me for the next 5 years, meaning you will not be allowed outside work. If you break any of these conditions, you will be immediately incarcerated. Do you understand? Well, since that's it, this hearing is adjourned. Tsunade stood from her chair, mumbled to Shizune, we need to make the contract by tomorrow morning. God, I need a drink, under her breath, and left through the side door, with the council quickly following. A weight lifted off Sakura's chest. That meant. She jumped out of her seat, ran towards the center of the room and approached Sasuke. Just as he was about to stand, Sakura wrapped her arms around his neck, hugging him close. She could not keep the tears in her eyes and she let them fall down her cheeks. "You're free, Sasuke-kun. You're a free man." Sasuke did not say anything in response, only held the armrest behind him for support and then another hand to her back. "Oh, I'm so relieved," Sakura pulled away from him. "I thought you wouldn't make it, especially after what Naruto said." "I mean, seriously, Naruto, you," her words cut off when she looked up and saw Naruto was absent from the room. "Sakura." She turned to the man before her. "There's something I need to do." Sakura had never ventured in this part of the village. The buildings were past repair, faded and dilapidated, a ghost town within the grand village of Konoha. The paintings of red and white fans glared back at her, like bloodshot eyes. She did not vocalize her discomfort to the person at her right. The roads were isolated and the sun was beginning to descend into the horizon. Still, she followed him into a large house. The faded yellow tape was still adhered over the open door, crisscrossed at chest height. With one grip, Sasuke ripped it aside and stepped through the threshold. The air was thick with aged wood and dust as they walked through the dark hallways. Sasuke stopped in front of an open doorway at the back of the house. Something, Sakura couldn't tell what, shook her nerves, forcing her to stand still in the doorway. Sasuke continued to the center of the room, stopping in front of the window and then sitting down. The whole time, he did not say a word, only sat down at a spot in the center of the room, feet under him. It was faint, but Sakura could see the bloodstains on the floor. This must have been where his parents died, she realized. It was sad and tragic, seeing the sole Uchiha sitting in the center of the room. She felt as if this space was sacred, like she wasn't allowed to be there. But for him not to tell her to go away or leave, maybe he wanted her there. Sakura sat upon the floor of the doorway in complete silence. She watched the light coming in through the window turn from yellow to orange. The shadows he cast stretched across the floor. 10 years. He finally whispered. Sakura looked up at him. "It took me over 10 years to finally find him. And once I did, I was strong enough to end him." She whispered, "Do you regret it?" There was a strong silence before he answered. "Why didn't I say no right away?" Something in the way he said that struck Sakura. There was a shake in his voice that sounded too foreign for her. She leaned forward on her hands and knees. "I fulfilled my revenge against that man, the very same one who killed my parents here in cold blood." Sakura moved her hands and knees one by one until she caught a glimpse of his face. The sight made her gasp. He sat staring at the faded stains on the floor, his eyes wide, bloodshot, with tears collecting in his eyes, ready to stream. "So why?" He spoke to anyone who would listen. "Why am I not satisfied?" Her eyes softened as she watched Sasuke trying his best to maintain composure against the emotions flooding inside of him. She reached out a hand to his face, but he suddenly backed away, shocked into his present world. He sat staring straight at her, legs stretched out on the floor. She hesitantly crawled to the space between his legs. With all her strength, she reached for his shoulders and pulled him to her. Sakura cradled his face in her hands and placed a kiss on his forehead. Sasuke's eyes widened to the feeling of her lips. She then dropped her hands, wrapping her arms around his shoulders. "Sasuke-kun," she could feel herself choke up. I don't think I could ever fully understand what you went through, but maybe you were hurt more than you were angry. He was your brother." She could feel Sasuke grip the clothes on her back, pulling her closer. He dropped his head to the crook of her neck, burying his nose in her skin. Perhaps he needed this for comfort, but still, the feeling of his proximity sent warm chills through her body. She never thought for Sasuke to be so physical. Sasuke was so damaged. She wished she could find some way, any way, to fix him. Sakura stood at his doorstep in the late morning. It was the only door without a welcome mat on the floor. She knocked, holding the potted bamboo plant tightly in her hand. Within a few seconds, the door opened with Sasuke standing on the other side. "Am I late?" she asked, noticing that the windows were already open. No, he stepped aside to let her in. He had just left the hospital earlier that morning to pick up probation forms and paperwork at the town hall. Sakura followed after her morning shift was over, volunteering to help Sasuke clean his apartment. The place had not been touched for 6 years. Cobwebs had made a place for themselves in corners of the room and thick sheets of dust covered every surface. She marveled at the dim room. This was the first time she was in Sasuke's space. She had entered Naruto's apartment dozens of times, she even slept in his bed before. In fact, she woke up beside him the morning he came back. Sakura shook her head. She handed the small bamboo plant to Sasuke. "Here you go, Sasuke-kun. A welcome home gift." "Thank you," and he took it in hand. Then, soft murmurs and 2 pairs of feet were approaching from the hallway. Within a couple of seconds, 2 familiar faces appeared in the doorway. "Good morning," the dark-haired man said with a smile on his face. "Sai. Naruto. What are you doing here?" "Just, help clean this bastard's place," the blonde answered, looking at Sasuke, then the plant. In each hand, Naruto and Sai held cleaning supplies, a mop, a broom, a bucket filled with cleaners, rags, dusters and a few masks. Naruto walked past the 2 and approached a spot near the wall of the door. He kicked the floor, sweeping his foot across it and placed the bucket down. "So, let's get this over with?" "You," came Sasuke's voice. "You're that person from before." Sai looked at him. "Yes, we met some 3 years ago." Sasuke stared at him with an expressionless face. "You were my replacement for Team Kakashi." "Oh no, not a replacement," Sai insisted. "Merely an addition." The sight of peace between them brought a smile to Sakura's face. "And since we are technically members of the same team, let's be comrades," Sai invited. "Friends, even, Naruto and Sakura's eyes simultaneously widened. They knew Sai's unorthodox invitation often led to him creating nicknames. Nicknames that were based on a male's characteristic. But Sakura blinked. Sasuke was practically perfect, physically, and other than a few poor decisions, there was nothing for Sai to. "Let's be good friends, duckbutt." A bird flew outside, its cawing and squawking loud and clear. Sakura looked scandalized. Sasuke looked too shocked for words. Naruto burst into laughter. "Oh my god, you're right, Sai," he said, clapping a hand on his friend's shoulder while holding his side. "Sasuke's hair does look like a duck's ass." Sasuke lifted the bamboo plant, ready to implant it in Sai's forehead. "Sasuke-kun." Sakura stood between the 2 men, her hands out to Sasuke. "Don't worry about him. Let's just clean, okay? Okay? Maybe you could use your hair to dust, duck-ass?" Naruto managed to say between his exhales. Sakura turned around and smacked Naruto on the shoulder. "What the hell? Don't encourage Sai. Make sure you jump high enough when you try to dust the ceiling fan, duck-ass." Sakura raised her hand to hit Naruto again, but froze when another hand gripped her wrist. She turned to see Sasuke's fingers wrapped near her pulse. She couldn't find her voice as she watched his hand move to gently hold the palm of her hand. "Let's get started, Sakura," he said, his eyes on Naruto. Sakura watched as Naruto walked into the kitchen, his head hanging down, face away from sight. Sure," she picked up a feather duster as Sasuke picked up a pair of masks and a few rags before they entered his bedroom. Sakura wiped a thin line of sweat away from her brow. She spun around slowly, observing her work in the bathroom. Every surface was sparkling and shining, to her great relief. Sakura stepped out of the bathroom and walked into the bedroom. "Sasuke-kun, the bathroom's done," she said, pulling off the mask. She stopped in her tracks when she found Sasuke frozen in front of a small table near the bed. She slowly walked into his room, a few steps deeper. It took a few moments to realize what he was looking at. It was a framed photo of 3 young genin and their silver-haired jounin teacher. Sasuke did not even turn to her when he said, "I'm almost done," as he placed the frame back in its place, standing up. He continued to wipe the table clean of dust and then proceeded to pull the sheets off the bed. A sudden cloud of dust flew in the air, leaving Sasuke very displeased. "I'll get some new rags," she tried to help out, taking her own dirty rags into the next room. "I'm not blind, Naruto. And neither is she, I think." Sakura froze in her tracks the moment she stepped into the living room, only to hear the other two in conversation as they scrubbed down the sink and counter. "Don't tell her, alright?" "I won't. Although you may find it admirable and right, I can't help but find it stupid." "Just shut up. I know what I'm doing. Besides, I promised." Naruto, confiding with Sai, about a girl? Naruto has a new girl in his life? The back of her head suddenly underwent a strange, sinking sensation. "Ah, Sakura-san," Sai realized her nearby presence. Naruto looked up and then quickly turned away. He grabbed the long-handled duster from the counter and started to beat the cabinets with it. "Just checking on your guys' progress," Sakura chimed as she joined them in the kitchen. "You haven't been slacking, have you, Naruto?" "No," he continued to dust. "What? No snappy remark or comeback? Son of a..." Naruto suddenly exclaimed. He dropped the duster, leaned back and then crouched forward slightly. He started cursing all while rubbing his eyes. Sakura immediately jumped to the now clean sink and turned the faucet on. It gurgled and spat before it remained steady and colorless. "Did you get something in your eye?" She grabbed her wrist and pulled him to the sink. "It's probably just dust." Naruto tried to pull his arm away. "Ow," he reached to rub his eyes again. "Stupid, Fudot. Stop rubbing your eyes." Sakura scolded. "Here, lean forward, eyes open." She cupped a pool of water into her palm and held Naruto's head face down in front of the sink. She placed her palm of water against his right eye, completely covering it. She retrieved a new supply of water and then repeated. She switched to Naruto's other side, repeating to cleanse his left eye in the same manner. "Is that better?" she asked. "Yeah," he said, wiping his chin of the dripping water. "Look at me," Sakura told him. "Come here, lean forward." She cradled his face a few inches away from her own, getting a good view of his blue eyes. They were red-rimmed, filled with water and tears, but nothing looked scratched. She commanded him to look in various directions as she examined his eyes. "I think I flushed out everything." She watched him close his eyes. "Do your eyes hurt?" He shook his head, eyes still closed. Sakura kept him at that close distance as she wiped his wet bangs away from his brow. "You're such a pain," she said gently, almost to the level of a whisper. She continued to wipe the water droplets away from his cheeks. And ever so slightly, Naruto leaned forward. Before she could respond, Naruto pulled away, smiled, said thanks, Sakura-chan, and continued to his task. "Was that?" "No, she just imagined that, right?" Naruto didn't just. She felt her cheeks begin to color. "Where are those other rags?" Sakura turned around to see Sasuke standing at the kitchen entrance. "Oh." Sakura walked past him, picking up clean new rags from a pile on the kitchen counter. "Here you go." She handed him one and said, "Let's continue, shall we?" Not keeping eye contact with Sasuke. She walked through the living room, passing Sai as he stood on the balcony, beating the dusty rags against the railing. She and Sasuke ended up in his bedroom, where she found his bed stripped of its sheets, and the surfaces covered in a new film of dust. She began her work at a set of drawers near the window, wiping them clean. "What are you doing tonight?" Sakura turned to him. He stood at the center of the room, near the foot of his bed, his eyes to her back. "Work," she responded. "I have a night shift." "And tomorrow night?" "I'm free." "Why?" "Nothing." He shook his head and turned away to his right, staring at the empty wall. "I was just wondering if you know how to make potato croquettes," he added, "because I don't." Was he asking her out? In a strange convoluted way, at least? "I could teach you tomorrow night." At least, it sounded like he was. "That is, if that's all right with you." "That's fine." He left the room for a moment, only to retrieve the broom. He began on the far side of the room, sweeping towards the open bedroom door. While he continued, Sakura began to form a mental checklist. Potatoes, green onions, maybe some meat, carrots. Wait, how many of each should she bring? She didn't want to assume it would be just for 2 people. After all, she didn't expect to see Naruto and Sai here today. How? If she asked this, she would be completely positive it was a date. How many people am I feeding for? Just 2, he said, eyes to his work. Oh, Sakura became painfully aware of her heartbeat. Okay. Good. Sakura dragged herself into her apartment, placing the grocery bags onto the table. Perhaps she should have asked Sasuke if he had pots and pans for her to use. She entered her kitchen and collected her own supplies, cutting boards, knives, a skillet and a few bowls, before entering her room. Now, what should she wear? She opened her closet. She couldn't wear something too nice, she was cooking, after all. But she did want to look impressive nonetheless. A dress? A blouse? Her eyes fell onto a familiar red-orange jacket, the very one Naruto gave her last year for her birthday. Slowly and gently, she pulled it out of the closet and laid it on her bed. She pulled out the pink envelope from its pocket and opened it, revealing the 21 bits of paper. As she reread the pieces again, she became consumed by that sinking sensation. Where did this Naruto go? This Naruto that held such an adoration for her? He had loved her since they were 7, did it suddenly go away? Now that she thought about it, he had been distant ever since Sasuke's return. Perhaps he grew tired of her. It was not a very good feeling. A small part was her ego, she had to admit to herself, but most importantly, it was ironic, he fell out of love with her around the time she started falling for him. Talk about rotten timing. But Sasuke had occupied her attention so much she had not had any time to think of Naruto or his feelings. She just had to let it go. Besides, wasn't this a good thing? Naruto did not have feelings for her anymore. Sasuke was paying attention to her. So, why did she start feeling so hollow? She watched quietly as Sasuke placed his chopsticks down. Gakasasama, he placed his palms together, saying his thanks. Sakura hesitated in speaking. She took a breath before continuing. How was it? Sasuke turned his eyes up to her. Was it too bland for you? I mean, I tried to make it a little different, Sakura fiddled with the ends of her chopsticks. No, it's fine, Sasuke assured her. You added some seasonings, didn't you? She nodded. She was so self-conscious about the taste as she sat, eating with him a few minutes earlier. After all, this was the first time she cooked for him, and she was glad it turned out well. It was good. Thank you, he said and stood, picking up his plate in the process. No. Sakura stood, taking his plate from him. I'll take care of those. She took their dishes to the sink and began to wash them clean. She rinsed the food off, scrubbed the plate clean, and rinsed. The plate was yanked from her grip. Sakura turned to see Sasuke standing beside her, wiping the excess water droplets off the plate with a clean dish towel. He quietly set it on the counter, waiting for another. So, Sasuke-kun, have you spoken to Kakashi-sensei? Only when I was in the hospital. That's somewhat surprising, she told him. Then again, he always tries to show his tough exterior, but I think he likes doting on us like we are his family, she said with a smile on her face. It was true. Kakashi would often appear at her work, making sure she wasn't overexerting herself. And while growing up, he would also check on Naruto as well, making sure he wasn't doing anything too unnecessary, like training without food and water. Sakura could recall a time when Kakashi had brought a delirious Naruto to the hospital. Dehydration, Kakashi said with a smile. I'll drink if Sakura-chan feeds me mouth to mouth, Naruto grinned weakly. There it was again, that heavy feeling in the back of her head. She shook her head, trying to push those memories aside. But I guess he would do anything for us, Sakura added, like how he paid for your bills. Sasuke paused from his tasks. Bills? Your utilities and rent for the first 2 months, so you can get back on your feet, Sakura elaborated. He paid for them when he heard about your sentence. She paused, noting his expression of disbelief. You didn't know? No, Sasuke answered honestly, his eyes slightly widened. He shook his head and placed a dried cup down on the counter. His eyes were held downcast and he momentarily paused from his work, looking down as the water ran through the drain. No one told him? Sakura wondered. He tried to convince me to stay, Sasuke spoke out loud. That night I left. But when I saw him a few weeks ago, we barely spoke. But he cares about you, Sasuke-kun. We all do. His expression softened as he reached for the last dish, his fingers brushing hers. When they finished cleaning the dishes, he restacked them in its proper place in his cupboards. She continued to pack up all her extra supplies she had brought with her. You can have the extra groceries, she told him. His eyes turned to the counter, looking at the stacks of vegetables, seasonings, and drinks she left. I'll pay you back when I start working. Don't worry about it, she insisted. Her hands fell to the top of her bags and looked to him. When do you start working? Tomorrow morning. There is a new police station that needs to be constructed. Oh. Again. Her eyes fell to the bags. I have a morning shift too. The room suddenly dropped to a thick hush. What else should she say? I guess I should get going. Morning shift. Not exactly what she had in mind, but before she knew it, she picked up her bags and headed to the door. Sasuke followed her and opened the door just a crack as she slipped her shoes on. Do you work every day? Sakura looked up to meet his eyes. It really depends. I alternate between night and morning shifts with a day off in between. She watched him keep his eyes to the bags in her hand. Why? Nothing, Sasuke answered. I looked at my schedule and it says that I have Sundays and Thursdays off. Maybe we could spend more time together. If our days off coincide, that is. Did he just? He asked her out on another date, didn't he? A smile slowly made its way to her face. I would like that. I'll let you know. He nodded, bid her goodnight and watched her leave from sight. Another date? If she was 12, she would have been on cloud 9. So, why wasn't she dancing in the streets? She was excited, no doubt about it. However, Sakura always imagined that this occurrence would involve flowers sparkling and skipping on her part. Maybe I've grown up, she muttered to herself. What? You've never eaten Ichiraku ramen? Screamed a scandalized voice. She knew that voice anywhere. Not too far away, merely a few yards down the street, was a familiar blonde, accompanied by 3 young ninjas. All of them looked quite small compared to Naruto, a boy with red hair, a girl with black hair, and another boy with brown. Let Naruto-sensei teach you a thing or two about excellence. Naruto-sensei? The very title caused her to start laughing. The group in front of her froze in their tracks, hearing her voice ringing through the air. The girl was the first to turn, followed by her peers. Hey, isn't that? That's Haruno, sensei's old classmate. And the Hokage's student, the brown-haired boy added. She approached the group, smiling to them as a greeting. Hello, and then turned to Naruto, whose back was still to her. Hey, Naruto. He paused before taking a deep breath and turning towards her, shoulders back. Hey, Sakura-chan, he greeted. Out to show them the wonders of Ichiraku? Sakura smiled. She looked down to the children and said, he's right, though. They do have some great ramen. She looked back to Naruto. In fact, you and I were supposed to go out to Ichiraku when you came back, remember? Naruto's eyes briefly turned away before he smiled at her, rubbing the back of his neck. Yeah, well, we both got preoccupied, right? A sudden feeling of guilt invaded her chest. Naruto's eyes quickly darted to her bags, noting the cooking tools and pans. Did you eat dinner already? He asked her. Uh-huh. He looked behind her shoulder, staring down the direction she came from. You made dinner at Sasuke's? Her tongue felt terribly heavy. It's just that, Naruto pointed behind his shoulder with his thumb. I just thought that because your apartment is that way. Sakura's eyes moved down to his collar. Yeah. I made him dinner. There was a gentle rustle of the breeze and the children conversing in whispers behind their teacher. That's cool, Naruto told her. Best way to get a man is feed him. I'm glad you two are working things out. Sakura dared a glance to his face, meeting his eyes. Really, he insisted. It looked like he was smiling. Sakura laid face down, covers pulled over her head. Why? Why did he look at her like that? Why did he face her with that smile? She thought he was head over heels in love with her. What changed his mind so quickly? Wait a minute, why did she even care that much? Her mind recalled the conversation she overheard between Naruto and Sai. From what she collected, there was a secret Naruto was keeping. And they were speaking about a girl. The late moonlight peeked through her curtains. She had to go to work in a few hours. Sakura pulled the covers off her head, curling the blanket up to her shoulders. Go to sleep, she scolded herself. Just go to sleep. Within a few minutes, her mind became hazy and she began to dream. For the next few hours, let's stay like this. Sakura woke up a few hours later from her deep sleep. How's your wrist? Sai looked down at the wrappings around his left wrist. Fine. I was not to par in my last ANBU mission. It appears I'm becoming sloppy, like all of you. Sakura's lip twitched, yanking the wrapping tape hard. Sai kept his eyes closed, smiling. Are you supposed to hurt patients like that? Only those who act like jerks. Sakura adjusted the wrapping to a more comfortable state. That was a quick mission, though. It was only a few days. Sai turned to her. So, I hear you've been quite busy. With Sasuke, that is. Who told you that? Naruto. Sakura froze. You've been going out on dates for the past couple of weeks. She swallowed the lump in her throat. Sasuke-kun and I, we're just spending time. Suddenly, she recalled the time she caught Naruto and Sai speaking in Sasuke's apartment. Sai, is there something going on with Naruto? What do you mean? Well, I hate to admit it, but I feel as if he's been avoiding me ever since he returned with Sasuke-kun. Sai said nothing, only looking at his wrist that she continued to treat. Why would he avoid you? That's why I'm asking you. Sakura exclaimed as she ripped the wrapping off the roll. I thought, maybe, do you think there's someone else? Sai's eyes widened. Like another girl in his life? Sakura elaborated. That's the only reason I can think of as to why he hasn't been talking to me. Immediately, Sai began to laugh hysterically, at least, as hysterical as Sai would allow. He bent over slightly, holding back his checking while Sakura stared, dumbfounded. It took a few moments for him to regain his senses. When he did, Sai sat up straight. You'll have to excuse me but, well, this is all very interesting. Her confusion was laughable? Sakura tightened her fist. How so? Oh, well, not to you but to me. It's very interesting, Sai explained. You see, you and Naruto are both my friends but I'm not sure what to do. Should I tell you or should I not? Why wouldn't you tell me? Slowly, her heartbeat began to thunder in her ears. Well, what if he did have someone? Sai asked suddenly, not answering her question. Sakura was struck silent. Well. She never thought about that kind of situation. What if Naruto found someone new? I don't know. Hurt, I guess. Sai raised a brow. Hurt? Well, yeah, I mean. Damn, what was she trying to say? Hurt because he didn't tell me. I thought we were close. I don't know. She looked up at Sai, meeting him eye to eye. So, that means he does have one? Sai's smile stayed solid. Naruto may be enamored with a girl, but you have Sasuke, don't you? Why should that matter? Sakura was asking herself that very same question. She picked up a round apple on the side of the rack. After tending to Sai, she had a long day of surgery. She felt tired, drained and worse off, preoccupied with what Sai was speaking of earlier. Naruto was keeping something from her. Excuse me, that's 120 Ryo. Sakura looked downward. It was a young girl in an apron, her long black hair pulled back in a braid over her right shoulder. Immediately, she recognized her as Naruto's student. Hello. She dug in her coin purse and gave the correct change. Here. I'm Haruno Sakura, by the way. I know who you are, Haruno-san. The girl took the coins and pocketed them. Naruto-sensei told us a lot about you. Suddenly remembering her manners, she introduced herself. My name is Satamichiko. My family owns this store. I come here a lot. I didn't know that, Sakura admitted. She began to recall her conversation with Sai once more. Actually, do you know where I can find your teacher? Michiko shrugged. We finished a mission a few hours ago, so I don't know. Oh, okay, and she held up the apple. This is all. Thank you. Sakura left the store in a dash, walking through the center of the village. She felt compelled to roam through the streets, in search for the blonde jounin. This was stupid, she thought. She should have just waited in front of his apartment or something. That was a definite guarantee to see him. Right? The trick is to visualize. She stopped in her tracks. Just outside a tea kiosk were two boys occupying an outside bench, with an older teenager standing in front of them. Once you get the right visual, the technique is easy to execute. She knew that voice anywhere. A frown formed on Sakura's face as she approached her blonde target. She felt somewhat guilty, about to interrupt a training session. But this was important. I was thinking, really big ones, the student with brown hair said. But you can't have them that big, the redhead protested. It has to look balanced. Right. Naruto exclaimed triumphantly. We're looking at hourglass, not a deformed squash. Hourglass is what makes the sexy no jutsu a success. Sakura's face dropped. He was teaching that? In 1 second flat, she pulled her fist back and swung, uppercutting Naruto. He flew in the air for a few seconds before crashing into the ground, lifting out dirt and earth upon impact. You pervert, she exclaimed. What are you teaching these kids? The boys' jaws dropped to the floor, staring at their fallen teacher. Slowly, Naruto pulled himself out of the ground, dusting himself off. Just teaching them a little fun, he frowned while mumbling to himself. Whatever, she rubbed her temple for a few rotations. I need to talk to you. About what? You, mostly. Me? She hesitated. Kind of. Naruto blinked, watching her intense gaze. He could see it, the way her eyes darted to him in an anxious state. Immediately, he read it and turned to his team. We'll pick this up tomorrow. The boys said their salutations and left quietly, leaving Naruto and Sakura by themselves. When they were out of earshot, Sakura spoke. Naruto, tell me why you've been avoiding me. His eyes were wide at first, but then he immediately burst in laughter. What? No, I dash dot. And don't say no, I'm not, Sakura-chan, she interrupted, jabbing a finger in his chest. I know you are, so don't lie to me. Naruto looked down to her collar, shoving his hands in his pockets. Sakura felt a new anxiety rush through her system. You haven't been hitting on me or asking me out. You and I always spent time together at least once a week. Now, I'd be luck if I even ran into you once a week. Just tell me, Naruto, Sakura took a deep breath, is there someone? Someone you like? Naruto blinked. What? Where did you get that? Sai. Said that? Not in so many words, Sakura admitted. She never did receive a straight answer from the ANBU teammate, but he did say Naruto was enamored. Damn idiot, Naruto muttered and leaned back to sit on the bench. Well? Sakura remained standing. His eyes were on the ground for some time before he looked up to her and smiled, a defeated expression on his face. You caught me. There's someone. A strange crash, like an avalanche, formed in her ears. There is? Who is she? Do I know her? No. She's, from Sunagakure. She's, one of Gaara's palace guards. Sakura's legs felt weak, compelling her to sit. She occupied a spot on the bench about a foot away from him. How long have you two? Around my last visit. Yeah, Naruto placed his palms down on the bench and leaned back on the backrest. We really hit it off and I've been writing to her since I got back home. Sakura felt something, she wasn't sure what, coat her insides, suffocating her. Why didn't, she had to force a deep breath, why didn't you say anything? Naruto shrugged He scratched his head. I mean, we're hitting it off so well, but we're not official yet. I didn't want to assume or jump on this. Jump? Naruto was concerned about jumping into something too fast? That didn't sound right. And if I hung around you too much, she might hear and get the wrong idea. So, no offense. Okay, that made some sense. When are you going to see her again? This week, he answered. My team is heading out to Suna, so I'm gonna drop by. Say hello. Make things official, you know. Yeah. Sakura never felt so uncomfortable before. She wanted to leave quickly as a feeling of nausea crawled up her throat. Well, she put on her best smile. Good for you, Naruto. I hope she sees what a good guy you are. You know, when you're not doing something stupid or perverted. Maybe she can come to Konoha on her vacation. She stood from her seat and told him, I had a long day, so I'll be heading home. See you, all while not looking at him in the eye. Frankly, she couldn't bring herself to. Sakura twiddled the key ring in her fingers. Thank you for walking me home, she told her companion. I had a nice time. Sasuke responded, walking alongside her. She continued down the familiar hallway in her complex, stopping at the door to her apartment. Sakura. She turned to him. Is something bothering you? You've been quiet since we left the theater. Sakura scolded herself. How could she be thinking about anything else besides Sasuke? Here she was, on an enjoyable date, thinking of nothing, she said out loud, trying to convince herself. Sasuke remained standing close by, his eyes down at her. His stare felt like weights over her head. She couldn't keep her thoughts locked up for long, could she? It's Naruto. Naruto, he stated in a flat tone. Yeah. What about him? He told me he was seeing someone, Sakura whispered. I don't know what's going through my head now, she shook her head, cradling her face in her cheeks. I mean, I should be happy for him. I am, I guess, but why didn't he tell me? I don't know why I'm upset over that. Sasuke pulled his fists out of his pockets. Am I upset over the fact he didn't tell me? She spoke out loud, trying to sort out her feelings. Over the years, we've gotten close. And I thought he would tell me everything. But even when he did, why didn't I feel bet dash? Sasuke reached out for her arms and pulled her to him. The action caused Sakura to hold her breath. SAS Sasuke-kun? Don't, he said softly. Don't? Sakura was silenced with Sasuke moving closer to her until his lips met hers. Her eyes grew to saucers and she watched as Sasuke closed his own, relishing in the feeling of her mouth against his. He was kissing her? Sasuke was kissing her? The 12-year-old inside her jumped for joy. The present 18-year-old, well, she didn't know what to do. Sakura couldn't wrap her brain around the fact of Sasuke pulling her in for this kiss. Sasuke pulled away slightly, just enough to view her whole face. Don't talk about Naruto anymore. Sakura didn't give him an answer. She just closed her eyes as Sasuke leaned in close once more. Stay very still, Yuya. Sakura held his small arm in place as she inserted the needle in his arm. The red-headed boy winced and looked away to his teammates. What the heck is so damn funny, Kotaro? The brown-haired boy sitting against the wall continued to snicker. Real ninjas don't get hurt by just shots. Whatever, Michiko shook her head. You were tearing up. There you go, no harm done. Sakura placed a square gauze where the injection site was, and began to wrap it with tape. So, your first mission out of Fire Country. Are you excited? Yeah, Yuya answered enthusiastically. Aren't you gonna get shots too, sensei? Naruto stood from his seat as he shook his head. Nope, he pulled out a piece of paper from his inner vest pocket. Here, and handed it to Sakura to sign. I don't need my boosters until another 4 years, he told his students. One by one, Sakura wrote down the student's name along with her initials, indicating she administered the specific shots. The shots aren't really for when you hit Sunagakure. It's for anything that could bite you in the forest along the way. Michiko blinked. We're not going to Suna. Sakura turned to Naruto, who was looking at his kids with wide eyes. But you said you were going this week? Well Naruto swallowed, we are . We are? Kotaro interrupted. I thought we were going to the outskirts of Water Country for our mission? We are. Naruto insisted. But then we're going to Suna. What for? Yuya asked. Perhaps it was time to help him out, Sakura laughed. You'll understand when you're older. But since your sensei is in a long-distance relationship, he'll use whatever chance to see his girlfriend. The 3 children looked at each other before erupting in hysterical laughter. You're kidding, right, Nei-san? Yuya chuckled. Sensei doesn't have a girlfriend, the female of the group exclaimed. Sakura's brow furrowed at the children. Now, I know you can't believe it, but some girls may find your teacher attract . Her eyes turned to Naruto and watched as he clutched his head in his hands. Suddenly, it clicked in her head. Unless. Sakura narrowed her eyes at him. Naruto, did you lie about that? About having a girlfriend? Naruto stood up straight. Oh, look at the time. Thanks for your help he said, grabbing the forms from her and opening the door. Come on, you little shrimps, time to go . Just a minute, she grabbed him by the collar and yanked him towards her. Why did you lie to me? Well . Well, what? She exclaimed. The children exchanged looks and slowly snuck out of the room. Why did you lie? Sakura asked him. You told me you had a, why'd you do it? Naruto just shrugged again. Joke. It was a joke . Naruto froze as his eyes fell off Sakura. She could feel her emotions simmer, steam and boil over all together until they finally broke through. Her vision became fuzzy and she released his collar, saying, that was a horrible joke, Naruto. You've been avoiding me but you don't have a girlfriend. Either way, God, you're so stupid. Naruto reached his hands out to her but stopped himself before he could. What's wrong with me? She asked herself. Why are you crying? His voice cracked through her thoughts. I'm not, she said, making sure her tears wouldn't fall in his sight. She turned her back to him, eyes to the window opposite to the wall. Why'd you do it? Whether she was referring to his lie or his avoidance, she wasn't sure anymore. Look, she heard him say, it was a stupid joke. Just forget it happened. You got other things to worry about, alright? Just worry about him. Him? What do you ? Sakura pivoted to face him but instead saw the sight of a slamming door. When Sakura came home after work, she immediately ran over to her closet and pulled out the pink envelope from the jacket pocket. She held it close to her chest and suddenly, the tears started to form. Why did it have to be like this? Why was she feeling happiness and anger all at once? Anger that he lied. But happiness because he lied? That didn't make any sense. A strong knock came to the door, Sakura's senses jolted to attention. She wasn't expecting anyone. She wiped her tears, trying to look slightly presentable as she headed to the door and opened it. Ino stood at the doormat, a gentle smile on her face. Hey, she held her hand out in a wave. May I come in? Sure, Sakura stepped back, letting her walk through the threshold. Chuji said he saw you at the hospital, Ino said as she slipped off her shoes. And that you didn't look so good. Immediately, she noticed Sakura clutching a familiar pink envelope. Oh, Sakura, were you just Dash? Sakura shook her head, trying to camouflage the formation of tears. She felt Ino wrap an arm around her as they made their way to the table of her dining nook. She placed the envelope down in front of her as Ino took a seat across from her. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm so confused. Well, Ino placed her elbows on the table, hands cradling her chin. Tell me everything that's going on in your head. Just let it out. Sakura said nothing at first and gathered her thoughts before she spoke. When you were younger, what did you imagine it would be like to kiss Sasuke-kun? Ino blinked, and then momentarily closed her eyes. Like a shoujo manga, with sparkling dewdrops, roses, and the air smelling of perfume. Why? Sakura's brow furrowed in puzzlement. It didn't feel like that. The sudden drop of Ino's palms to the table shocked Sakura. You kissed Sasuke-kun? Spill, woman. I want details. We were talking, right outside, Sakura pointed to the door, and he grabbed me and just kissed me. Twice. And? Ino's eyes glimmered. How was it like? Cold, she answered, trying to recall it. We just came back from the movies, so we were walking outside at night, and I was shocked the first time. My eyes were open. But the second time, it was nice. Not anything like I imagined, but it was nice. Just nice? What did you imagine it should have been like? Well, kind of like yours, with sparkles and flowers, Sakura answered honestly, but really, almost like an out-of-body experience. Like it's not something I'm meant to control, she elaborated further. But once it happens, it's going to be the only thing that matters. Alright, so you're finally dating Sasuke-kun and you two even kissed. Why so glum then? Naruto lied about having a girlfriend. Ino blinked. Wait, rewind. Sakura took a deep breath. Naruto has been avoiding me ever since he returned with Sasuke-kun. And he's been hiding something. He admitted he had a girlfriend but it turns out he didn't. She buried her face in her hands. Wait, Ino held her hands out. You're upset because a friend lied to you, right? I dunno. You're not upset because you were jealous he possibly had a girlfriend, right? I dunno. I don't know why. Why was I so upset that he had a girlfriend? Sakura clutched her head between her hands. Why did a part of me become so relieved when he admitted he didn't? Why has he been avoiding me? And why do I think of him when I'm out with Sasuke-kun? It just doesn't make sense. Sakura placed her head down and took long deep breaths. Are you sure he's avoiding you and you're not imagining it? Positive, Sakura growled. Ino reached out for her friend's hands and held them tightly. Okay, obviously, you're really confused. Just take deep breaths and try to really think about it. Sakura obliged, her eyes closed tight. She could see images of both Naruto and Sasuke, memories that she held dear to her. Tears started to pool in her eyes until they leaked through her shut lids. Ino, am I a bad person to love two people? Ino didn't know what to say at first. She swallowed the lump in her throat and tried her best not to stammer. No, you're not, Ino's eyes softened in sympathy. It happens. Not that she wanted to encourage stringing both men along. But you have to figure out how you love them. The same? Or do you love one more? I know I love them both, but how do I figure that out? Ino held her arms out in defeat. I don't know. That's for you to decide. Hearing that caused Sakura's heart to sink. She buried her face in her hands, face muscles fatigued from crying. You could look at it like this, Ino told her. Which one could you not live without? She had been thinking of what Ino said. Was it really that simple? Just pick one over the other? With Naruto, well, she was comfortable. She had grown close to him over the years. He became one of her best friends and he understood her. But Sasuke, her first love, the one that got away. He was such a lost soul, seeking strength, and in the end, he came back. Back to her. These past 2 months have been like a dream come true for her. She dreaded the idea of choosing. She had no idea what she would do if the time came. How hurt would the other party get? Sakura sighed. She just had to enjoy a night of yakiniku, Sakura told herself. Sakura, wait. She looked up to the figure in front of her. Sasuke's eyes were turned away from her as he reached over to her. In his palm, he held an object for her to hold. Here, Sasuke told her. So I can give it to you early. For me, she still couldn't believe it. Sasuke got her a birthday present? Eh. She reached for the modestly wrapped present. It was shaped in a perfect square of gold foil and a thin ribbon around it. Gingerly, Sakura opened the present, careful not to damage the delicate contents inside. She pulled the wrapping aside to find a bracelet of silver. It was an antique, it seemed, dulled with age, but even still, each thick chain was perfectly shaped. On closer inspection, she saw a small Uchiha fan hanging off the chain's hook. Sasuke-kun, wow, it's beautiful. Is this from your family? Sasuke nodded. It was. Maybe I shouldn't have given it to you yet. Sakura's brow furrowed. I don't understand. The thing is, Sasuke said as he stepped up to face her, meeting her eye to eye. For a moment, their eyes met. He tried to hold her in a gaze but something flew over him and he decided to turn off to the side. The thing is, he started again, I've been thinking about things, important things. Sakura stayed silent to let him continue. And those important things are difficult. And complicated, he added for good measure. You've been on my side for years. Of course she jumped to his statement. I believe in you, Sasuke-kun. And I care about you very much, Sakura told him, pulling her eyes down to his shoulder. So then, 6 years from now, when my sentence is over, when my name is respectable, are you going to still be on my side? Something about the way he was avoiding eye contact was suspicious. What? Sakura wasn't sure exactly he was trying to ask her. To test her loyalty? Sasuke forced his fists in his pockets. Maybe not on my side, then. Perhaps, beside me instead. He risked a glance at her and then turned away to the apparel shop across the street. Her eyes remained on the bracelet in her hand as she realized the meaning of his words. Are you going to be beside me? She felt as if her brain divided in quadrants and they began to spin in different directions. Her muscles felt raw, her brain incapable of formulating a response. You want me to stand by you? When we're older? I would desire that, he admitted. You're one of the few people in this world I can trust. However, he immediately added, there isn't a rush to your answer. I still have some years to go. It's just that I wouldn't mind. Can you at least consider it? Sakura nodded with a heavy heart. She didn't trust herself to respond verbally, anyway. Sakura was afraid she might have vocalized her initial thoughts. What would Naruto say? The couple made their quiet trek into the yakiniku shop. She was immediately greeted with congratulations and embraces from her friends. Many were there, including her fellow graduates of the academy, Guy's former students, and many of her teachers and co-workers. Hello, Sai approached her and Sasuke. Hi, she responded and looked around to all the faces of the party. There's a lot of people here. Surprisingly, you have friends despite your boorish personality. Imagine that, Sai said with a smile. Oh, shut up, Sakura said as her eyes darted around the room. Naruto isn't here. Sakura froze. What makes you think I was looking for him? She glanced at Sasuke, then back to Sai, because I wasn't. I know, Sai declared with an air of nonchalance. He came down with something but he sends you best wishes. He raised his glass of what looked like water and took a quick drink, before leaving Sakura be among the festivities. Sakura quickly collected any willpower inside her that she could spare, and pulled a smile to her face. Sasuke had walked her home that evening. As soon as she closed the door, her limbs moved by themselves towards the dresser in her bedroom. She pulled it open, revealing the 21 declarations of love she found in the jacket Naruto bought her 1 year ago. She also pulled out the letters he wrote to her last year, reading over his words he penned from a distance. For minutes, what felt like years, Sakura laid face up on her bedroom floor, letters and slips of paper scattered around her. She looked straight above her with her hands folded on her stomach. Sasuke wanted to get serious with her. So, why was she so concerned with Naruto? Does that mean she and Sasuke were dating? Would Naruto object to the match? Sakura tilted her head to the right. She lifted her hand to the chain bracelet that laid lazily on her chest. With his proposal, that meant they were exclusive, right? That her personal life was primarily filled with Sasuke? Naruto couldn't fit in that, of course. It really didn't matter. After all, he wasn't telling her everything, and they weren't as close as they used to be. Sakura closed her eyes. Where was that pain coming from? Sakura sat up, feeling the blood rush away from her head. Slowly, she collected the bits of paper and letters, replacing them in their respective envelopes. She stood and opened her drawer, placing the envelopes back in their place. In the very back was a wooden box, rectangular in shape, made of beige wood and void of any designs. She lifted the lid off to reveal some of her personal treasures: her academy diploma, a kunai Kakashi gave her when she became a jounin, a necklace that belonged to her mother. She placed the bracelet in the box, right over the orange frog. Sakura blinked. She still had Naruto's spare key. As she reached for the key, she realized something. Considering the nature of her relationship with Sasuke, whatever that was, she couldn't have the key of another man's place. Or rather, she shouldn't, she told herself. The lights were on at his place. When he opened the door, his eyes were wide with shock. "Sakura-chan? What are you doing here?" "Just came by," Sakura said as she stood on his doorstep. "It's late though. Look, Naruto." Sakura raised her voice slightly. "It's still my birthday for another hour, it's raining out here and I have 3 bowls of miso ramen in this bag. Are you really going to leave me out in the cold?" And just for extra measure, she held the plastic bag in front of her. Naruto looked at her, then the bag right before he fully opened the door. She stepped in, slipped off her shoes and put down the bag on the table. "So," Sakura shrugged off her jacket, "Sai said you weren't feeling well." Yeah." Naruto walked over to his kitchen and gathered 2 bowls and 2 pair of chopsticks. "Long mission. Got really tired. Sorry, I didn't have time to get you something." "It's alright." Sakura popped open one of the containers and poured out the ramen. "That's what this is for. Remember, I promised ramen when you came back from your training." Naruto looked down to the ramen she placed in front of him. She poured out another serving for herself and sat opposite him. They both said their thanks and began to eat quietly. Her eyes ran over Naruto's appearance. Sickness couldn't have been the reason. With the Kyuubi's help, his immune system was tough like a rock. Whatever his reason for not attending her birthday party, it had better been a good one. And even if he lied to her a while back, yes, it was a stupid joke, but was it really worth not talking anymore? "Naruto?" He looked up from the bowl he was eating from. "I wish I knew what was going on with you these past weeks." Naruto looked up at her. "Blue," he made a noise as he sucked up a wad of noodles. She raised an eyebrow at him. "We haven't hung out like this in a while." He bit down, cutting the long noodles and eating what was in his mouth. "Well, you've been busy with Sasuke. I've been busy with my team. We're 2 very busy people here, Sakura-chan." "And you lying about your girlfriend?" "Stupid joke." "I said that, right?" He lifted his bowl to his lips, sipping the broth. Sakura released the noodles wedged between her chopsticks and gazed upon him. "You know, I never thanked you for speaking at Sasuke's hearing. Granted, calling the council members idiots wasn't a smart move, but, well, the fact that you cared enough. I'm thankful. Naruto had continued to finish off his ramen. I didn't really plan to, he shrugged. I just kind of did it. Well, I don't know why you've been doing these things, but I miss spending time with you. I really do. His blue eyes gazed at her intensely. Why did her cheeks feel hot? It feels weird, you know? If I don't hear you saying something stupid, then you're at least doing something stupid, she laughed lightly. Either way, my days aren't the same. Naruto turned his eyes away from her, his finger scratching his blushing cheek. Sakura peered into his bowl. You want the other serving? He looked towards her and nodded, a smile on his face. Yeah, that'd be good. Another bowl of ramen later and Naruto found himself on the floor, stomach to the ceiling. He laid sprawled, legs toward the kitchen, rubbing his stomach in slow circles. Oh man, that hit the spot, he smiled. She smiled warmly as she stood out of her chair and stood beside his body. I'm glad you're satisfied with only 2 bowls. I ate a little earlier, he admitted, vaguely pointing in the direction of the kitchen. Sure enough, on the counter was an empty styrofoam bowl of instant ramen. She lay down next to him, a little more than a foot of space between them. Sakura propped her body up on her elbows as she lay on her stomach. So, tell me about your new team. Naruto began to explain their misadventures and personalities. He started with Kotaro, the most well-rounded one out of the crew, followed by the smart Michiko, and the strong Yuya. He spoke of how the grunt missions, like finding lost kittens or working at the summoning animal shelter, were boring as kids to death. Yuya kind of reminds me of you, she told him. The self-proclaimed leader, the most energetic, the foul-mouth. Guess so, Naruto shrugged. But Kotaro is kind of like Sasuke. Doesn't have a bloodline thing, but he's cocky as hell. Still a good kid, though. And what about Michiko? Is she anything like me? You mean being a know-it-all? Sakura dropped her jaw. I am not, she flicked his head, although the smile was still forming on her face. No, she's not really that much like you. I mean, other than being smart and stuff. How so? Well, she's a little quiet. And she likes Yuya. An awkward silence hung over the air as the smiles on both their faces dropped. But, he broke the silence, they work well together. The 3 of them. Her eyes wandered off towards his bed, where she saw the familiar framed photo of Team 7, almost 6 years ago. The 3 of us were a good team too, I think. Granted, the 4 of us had our issues, but we all managed. For a while, anyway. Her eyes returned to him and said, we're good, right? Naruto rolled over to his left side, propping his head up with his hand. What do you mean? Us, she propped herself up onto her right side, directly facing him. A lot of stuff happened within these past 6 years and honestly, if you weren't there, I would have been a mess. Of course, there's Ino, Kakashi-sensei, she added quickly, but really, you've done so much for me. I don't know if there's a proper way to pay you back. It isn't about payback, he insisted. It's because I want to. But it's a lot. Like how he never forgot her birthday. Or how he would praise her when she performed a successful surgery. Or how he would console her when a patient didn't make it through. Before she knew it, her mental checklist stood taller than Hokageyama. It's because I would do anything for the people I care for. It's like every person I connected with, I see like family, Naruto explained, counting off each person with a finger on his right hand. Iruka-sensei, he's like an uncle or something. Ero-sennin, like a perverted old grandpa. Kakashi-sensei, like a dad or uncle. Sasuke, like my own brother. And me? Sakura spoke suddenly. What am I to you? The way his blue eyes softened when he gazed at her took her breath from her. You're Sakura-chan. You're smart, beautiful, strong, and scary as hell. But you're Sakura-chan. You're perfect. The sound of raindrops on his window was so distant to her. They both reached for each other, her hand to caress his cheek, his to guide her bangs away from her face. They paused, just when they were a breath away, before claiming one another's lips. He tasted of miso ramen, she realized. His familiar musk, a mix of laundry detergent and ginger soap, filled her nose. His hands moved, pulled her against him and rolled her to her back, trapping her between his torso and the floorboards. She soon began to lose hold of her surroundings, of where she was and how she got there. Everything was a blur, like she was draped in a rose-colored fog. Underneath her shut lids, she was pulsing colors of pink, orange, and blue, warming her skin from head to toe. He rocked against her, not leaving any space for air between their bodies as his fingertips hungrily moved from her temple, through her hair, along her jaw, down the column of neck. His lips followed his fingers' path before returning to her lips. "Naruto," she breathed quietly. Something like a growl escaped his lips as her palms moved over his t-shirt, right over his stomach. The way his mouth tasted her sent her mind in a twirl. For every second that passed in his kiss, she wished for a second more. When he did pull away, they both opened their eyes at the same time, pupils wide and gazes glazed over. It only took a second for the both of them to realize what had just happened. They both sat up quickly, pulling away from one another, scooting back. "Oh, shit," Naruto cursed. Sakura had yet to find the strength to speak, she was too busy shaking. "Shit, shit, shit," he said over again, running a hand through his hair, propping himself on his knees. "Sakura-chan, I'm sorry," he apologized and then paused. "Well, not really." Sakura looked up at him. "I mean, well, that kiss was awesome," he admitted. "So, I'm not really sorry." "Sorry I didn't ask, if anything," he muttered, as if he was thinking out loud. "But with Sasuke. Sakura threw her hands out, shoving him off his knees and into the bed frame behind him. This is so wrong," she exclaimed, stumbling to her feet. "How could you do this? Sasuke-kun is your friend." Naruto's eyes widened, jumping to his feet. "How could I? We both moved to kiss each other." Sakura swallowed her breath. "I? What? No. No, there's no way," she threw her arms up. "You know what, just forget it," she turned on her heels, towards the door, but then turned back to him. "You know, you got a lot of nerve, Naruto." "Me?" He approached the dining tables, a few feet from where she stood. "Yes, you. You're always the one thinking before you act," she accused. "Did you ever think how doing stuff like this will affect Sasuke-kun? Why would I want to think of Sasuke while kissing you? That's not what I meant," she raised her voice. "But did you even think of how he would feel if something like this happened? Like just now?" "Sometimes," he answered honestly, placing a hand on one of the dining chairs. "Yeah, well, maybe you should think before you move," she bit. "He proposed to me, you know." Naruto's eyes widened. "Well, not exactly," Sakura corrected herself. "But he's expressed that he wants to get serious with me. And you know what? It's not a bad idea." Naruto gripped the chair underneath his palm. "In fact, it's a great idea." Why was she sharing this with him? Before her mind registered it, she pointed to herself, then to Naruto. "So, this can't be happening. I can't be in the same room with you, alone. I mean, how could you? Didn't you just say he was like your brother? You're unbelievable." Naruto's knuckles turned white. "You can't do this to Sasuke-kun." Suddenly, Naruto threw his hand back, throwing the chair to the floor. "What the fuck, Sakura?" Sakura's eyes widened. "I can't do this? Why the hell are you pinning all the blame on me? Weren't you the one who thought I was avoiding you? Weren't you the one who was standing on my doorstep, asking to spend time with you? Weren't you the one who said you missed me?" He stepped up to her so that he was only a breath away. "Remember? We both moved in to kiss, so it wasn't just me. I don't know why you're trying to shove all the blame to me. But, things were just fine the way they were. Before you started. What? Started what? Toying with me, she exclaimed. Avoiding me, lying like that, then this. Quit playing with my feelings. Then do the same with me, he said with an equally raised voice, backing away from her. I just ERGH, and he sent his fist down into the wood of the table. You know, Sakura, you think I'm playing with you, but I'm not. I love you like crazy, but you're driving me insane. But, she huffed. You're confusing me so much, geez. You think I'm screwing with you? He told her. Then go, make it easy. Naru dash. You said we can't be in the same room anymore, remember? Naruto turned his back towards her. He stood very still, his shoulders rising and falling with every breath. A very heavy, dark cloud fell over Sakura just then. Quietly, she pulled her coat on, dug into her pocket and pulled out the single key on a frog keychain. She dropped it on the table and closed the door behind her. At the very same moment the door shut, she could hear the shattering of porcelain. Before she knew it, Sakura ran into the rain. Notes, wedding ceremony over, moving across 3 states over, and I have prioritized studying over fanfiction. I'm sorry it has taken me months to give this to you. I can't promise monthly updates, but I'm gonna try. Here I go, so dishonestly. Leave a note, for you my only one. And I know you can see right through me. So let me go and you will find someone, yellow card. Oh my god, Ino stared at her friend. You look horrible. Sakura brushed her bangs closer to her face, hoping to cover her bloodshot, puffy eyes. Is it obvious? I didn't want to go to work, but I had to. Come on, Ino took her by the wrist, out of the break room, through the hospital hallways and out of the garden doors. She pulled her to an isolated bench underneath a large tree, away from any strolling patients or visitors. Something happened after your party? Not just then. Oh geez, Sakura sat back, covering her face with both hands. Oh, Sakura, Sakura. Ino sighed. She had to get used to this, all the drama unfolding in her friend's life. Better her than me, she thought, but she hated herself just a little for somewhat enjoying it all. Start from the beginning. Sakura took a deep breath and pulled her hands from her face. Sasuke-kun, he kind of sort of wants to get serious. Ino narrowed her crystal eyes. What kind of serious? Like he asked me to consider a future. Ino immediately burst into a fit of squeals, accompanied with flapping hands. Oh my god. He proposed? Well, not in so many words, Sakura explained. What did he say exactly? When his sentence, you know, his punishment, is over and when his name is respectable again, will I stand beside him? Ino narrowed her eyes. Stupid forehead girl, that's a proposal. And you said? Nothing. Nothing? Nothing, Sakura said. He told me to think about it. Sakura my dear, Ino said affectionately while she patted her shoulder, when a good-looking guy asks you to marry him, you should at least be intrigued and flattered. You have no business crying yourself to an ugly mess. It wasn't Sasuke-kun that made me cry, Sakura told her. It was Naruto, she said the last sentence very softly. He did? Ino's eyes widened, surprised at such a thought. Naruto? Making Sakura cry? How'd he do that? By showing that he indeed has balls, a voice said from the tree. Both women looked up towards the branches of the tree they sat underneath. Sai-sama. Ino smiled. How long have you been there? Sakura nearly growled at the ANBU member. Since you sat down. Were you too distracted to sense my presence? He jumped down so that he sat on the bench, on the other side of Sakura. By the way, when I said that he showed he had balls, I meant that as a figure of speech. Sakura rolled her eyes. We got that. Of course, if things continued as they did last night, it would have been literal. What? Sakura was positively livid. What did he tell you? Everything, Sai smiled. Hello? Ino interrupted. What the hell happened? Naruto happened, Sakura answered, her tone displaying her tense and uncomfortable state. With kissing. Kissing happened. Ino blinked, looking back at Sai for verification, and then Sakura when his amused smile did not falter. No way, she gasped. Frankly, this gossip was too interesting. You have Sasuke-kun's full attention and yet you and Naruto dash dot. I didn't mean to. It just happened, Sakura tried to explain. So who made the first move? Ino asked. Well, he kissed me, Sakura answered quickly. Are you so sure? Sai intervened. Alright, so we both moved at the same time, Sakura admitted. I was only there to return his apartment key. But then I remembered how we were supposed to go out for ramen and I brought some over. We ate, then we talked and then before I knew it, we kissed. And after that? Ino asked. We started arguing. I told him that this is wrong. And that he can't be doing this to Sasuke-kun. That we shouldn't see each other alone, Sakura continued. Then he got angry at me. He said I was toying with him. And he called me just Sakura. No Chan. He never does that. Whoa. Ino breathed. I told him that he was playing with my feelings but he said I was doing the same. Can you believe that? Well, you are, Ino and Sai said in unison. They glanced at one another, curious. Sakura glanced at both of them. Huh? Sakura, you have Sasuke-kun, Ino reminded. You shouldn't be thinking about another guy, much less going to their apartment and making out with him. But Naruto dash, Sakura started but was interrupted by Sai. Unless you're a slut. Before Sakura could turn around and give Sai a good punch in the face, Ino grabbed Sakura by the shoulders, regaining the control of the conversation. Not that, just, caring for two men differently, Ino tried to correct, picking words off the top of her head. Even so, why was Naruto's fake girlfriend such a concern for you? And even if there really was a girlfriend that existed, I would think you would be happy for him. Isn't it a good thing if a person can find another who makes him or her feel special? Sai asked. Sakura felt tongue-tied. I don't know. She shook her head. She didn't want to say it. No, that couldn't be it. It just was. I have to figure this out and talk to him. You're going to have to wait about 2 weeks, Sai informed. He's on vacation to Suna since this morning. Vacation? Why? For alone time, I suppose. To mend his broken heart. Sakura narrowed her eyes at the dark-haired man. You love to watch me suffer, don't you? Nonsense, Sai smiled gently, his eyes closed. Not just you, but everyone. You're sick, Sakura's lips curled in disapproval. Yes, but he's so beautiful, Ino said as she gazed at the man. She shook her head, reviving herself from the trance. Listen, Sakura, you need to clear things up with yourself. Stay consistent. You can't say you're with Sasuke-kun, possibly marry him, and then still crave and dig for Naruto's sole affection and attention. It doesn't make any sense. Unless you're an attention whore, Sai pondered out loud, clear as a bell. This time, Sakura socked him right in between the eyes. You were saying? She turned back to Ino. You have some time to think with Naruto gone. You have to sort your feelings out between the two. Now, tell me, and be honest, who was the better kisser? Sakura's cheeks began to blush. You can't ask that. Sure I can. But they're different. Come on. Ino engaged. Which one made you smell roses and see sparkles and stuff? Neither, Sakura answered honestly. Oh. Really? A look of disappointment appeared on Ino's face. Truth was, Sakura thought, while Sasuke's kiss was sweet in its own chaste way, Naruto's kiss made her feel as if the world disappeared. So, how's the construction going? Sasuke turned to her. Well, he answered simply. The noon air was crisp and thin, with a slight breeze running over the site. Sasuke and Sakura sat away from the crowd, his hard hat resting on his knee. I hope you didn't mind that I brought you lunch, Sakura told him. Since I'll be working late hours all week. It's alright, he assured her, as he slowly ate a rolled egg from the bento. Something important came up? Yeah, Sakura answered. Work had a tendency to distract her when she needed it to. He finished the last of his eel and rice, saying a small chant of thanks. She watched him quietly pack up his used bowl and chopsticks, placing them in the bag she originally provided. Sakura looked up. All the other men were scattered around the construction site, eating their lunch. Some of them also had bentos from their wives, Sakura noted. She tapped Sasuke's shoulder, can I talk to you for a second? In private? Sasuke stood and led her to a small alleyway between two nearby buildings. They were not completely obscured from sight, they stood at the opening of the alley. I just want you to know that I'm still considering what you said earlier. You know, she told him. There's no rush. I know, she interrupted him. It's important, though, and I'm taking it seriously. Sasuke nodded quietly. Sakura could feel her self-consciousness rising up in her throat. She pivoted away from view, so that Sasuke stood in front of her. His back to the open space. With both hands, she pulled him forward, planting her lips over his. She closed her eyes as she tried to fill her senses with Sasuke until they hit an overload. She tried to remember his warmth, his smell, everything about that moment. Finally, when she did, she pulled away. Sasuke's eyes slowly opened. What was that for? Just because, she shrugged. I'm sorry. He shook his head, relieving her of any guilt. I should go back to work. She nodded. I'll call you when I can. All right. Thanks for lunch, he said to her before he left to clock back in. Sakura released a heavy sigh before heading off to work once more. She couldn't tell him. Sakura was planning to, but the words lodged themselves deep in her chest. Tell Sasuke that she kissed Naruto? The idea was just so scandalous. She sat in a quiet research room by herself, with stacks upon stacks of books in front of her. She wasn't exactly paying any attention to them, she was at the table, both hands cradling her chin. She was sick of this dance. Naruto, Sasuke. Sasuke, Naruto. First love, something else. Oh, who was she kidding? There was a bond between herself and the blonde jounin. What it was exactly, she was so unsure. She thought she loved him, too. Was it that simple? Love, simple? In love with two men, no less? Sakura had to laugh out loud, a chuckle passed her lips. So why did she kiss Naruto? She wasn't the type to get caught up in the moment of anything. She was a planner, a careful woman by nature. She always felt control over her own feelings. Except when it came to her boys, it seemed. Sasuke is her first love. Naruto is a near and dear friend. Once again, why did she kiss Naruto, her near and dear friend? Well, he was a good kisser. She could still remember the way he felt. How warm his body was, how inviting his lips felt. How something as simple as feeling his lips could cause some sort of chemical reaction in her system. It was kind of like an out-of-body experience. No. How could she do that? What a bad girl, she told herself. What an awful, terrible, bad girl. Here Sasuke was, wanting a future with her while she clearly recalled Naruto's kiss down to the tiniest muscle movement. She had hoped to erase that memory by kissing Sasuke earlier that day, but nothing. Oh, she felt something with Sasuke, gently little tingles rolling down her back, his hesitant lips, the gentle musk of cologne causing her senses to dim ever so slightly. Technique-wise, there was a difference. Sasuke was slow, relishing in the time that their lips were together. Naruto was energized, consuming, like he was holding back more passion that resided behind his lips, his body. But, beyond all the kissing, she knew Ino was right. She had to make things clear. Sasuke wanted a future with her. Naruto was holding back, and she didn't know why. Why couldn't her decision be easy? She had almost a week to make one. It was late at night when Sakura heard a doorbell buzz. What the? She reached for her end table lamp and stumbled through her apartment, her eyes squinting from the lights. She approached the door and opened it. She was shocked to find Naruto standing on the doorstep, hands in his jacket pockets. Hey. His eyes looked so strained, she realized. You got a couple of minutes? Sure, she stepped back. Naruto shook her head. It won't take long. Alright. His eyes were still to the floor as he stood before her. She hated the silence spreading over them. You went to visit the Kazekage? Yeah. Sai told you? Yeah. Oh. Naruto's back was hunched, keeping his hands in his pockets. Listen, Sakura-chan. Something warm washed over her the moment her name escaped his lips. About the other night. She swallowed the lump in her throat. Well, can't say I'm sorry I kissed you, he started. Let's face it, I liked you since I was a kid and that was a stupid awesome kiss. He shrugged nonchalantly. And if someone told me that there was a chance to kiss you, I'd line up. Naruto. She said in a warning tone, the tone that told him he was going tangent from the conversation. Yeah. Sorry. He rubbed the back of his neck. But we're confusing each other and I didn't mean to. I guess that's what I'm apologizing for. Sakura nodded. The thing is, I made a promise to you. And Sasuke. I just want you two happy. So, I'm backing up, Naruto declare. For real. For real? Sakura's brow furrowed. I don't understand. I didn't mean to get in the way of you two, so I think Naruto had to take a deep breath, before he continued, I think you're right. To stop hanging out alone. Yeah, all that stuff. To make things easier. He took a deep breath before saying, see ya. Naruto turned on his heels and began to walk. He only took about 8 steps before she blurted, why are you giving up? Her hand clamped over her mouth the moment after she spoke. Naruto pivoted around on his heels. What? I don't know why I said that, Sakura spoke out loud. Just, well, you never give up on anything. So why are you giving up on this? On me? Wait, I'm confused, Naruto squinted his eyes. Are you telling me not to? I don't know. Are you asking me to fight Sasuke for you? No, of course not. Because I figured that's the last thing you would want, Sakura-chan. But I'll do it. No, that's the last thing I'd want, she exclaimed. Then why would you say that? I don't know. Sakura told him. Honestly, Naruto, I don't know. All this is so confusing. I want you here but I feel so guilty and before she knew it, she felt the tears collecting in her eyes. Usually, Naruto would have run over and tried to stop the tears. Instead, he just stood there, one hand to the wall, the other grabbing fistfuls of his jacket hem. Are you sure you don't want me to fight? Sakura was still able to send him a glare. Yeah, I figured as much, he muttered. Listen, I'm just looking out for you. But what about you? Who's looking out for you? The last time she checked, that was her task. Don't worry about it, he assured her. Tell you what? You live your happy life with Sasuke and raise yourself a little clan. I'll find someone. She won't be as hot as you, I'll guarantee, but I'll try. Somehow, she found herself giggling at his words. There you go, he encouraged. Smiling Sakura-chan is the best damn thing ever. Their smiles faded simultaneously. Time to go. See you. She looked at him directly in his eyes, watched his eyes lowered as he turned to leave. Even though he left on a lighter note, Sakura couldn't shake the sinking feeling in the back of her head and her stomach. She lived without him for 3 years, she reminded herself. She could do it again. Sakura crawled into bed, pulling the covers over her head. She closed her eyes, trying to forget Naruto, the guilt, the wondering, the restlessness, just to get a decent night's sleep. Can I just pretend that you're mine? Sakura struggled out of bed, realizing she slept a good 15 minutes through her alarm clock's buzz. She couldn't bring herself to get up for spring cleaning. Sakura had avoided it all weekend, until the last day. She knew her work schedule this week was packed. If she didn't do it now, she would never get it done. Sakura had pulled out her feather duster to start dusting the surfaces of her apartment. And then, she stopped at the dresser, where she kept all her photo frames on display. Her eyes immediately turned to the octagon-shaped photo, where 4 figures stood. The young blonde was looking off to something outside the frame. It had been 2 weeks since she last saw Naruto. 2 weeks since he left her apartment, bidding an indefinite farewell. She reached over to the frame, gently placing it face down from view. Her muscles turned to jelly and the feather duster fell from her hand, clattering to the floor. Her fingers landed on the handles of the top drawer. She knew what laid inside, but, God, she couldn't bring herself to open it. All those warm and inviting words. This is ridiculous, Sakura tried to scold herself. Get a grip. She began to gather any coats that were lying about her apartment. Holding them in her arms, she threw the doors open to her closet, searching for extra clothes hangers. A flash of red-orange caught her eye. Sakura swallowed a lump in her throat as a shaking hand reached out for the jacket. She pulled it from the closet, took it off the hanger and pulled it on. Did it still fit? It's been a while after she wore it for the first time. Since then, it wasn't the right season, or she had a date with Sasuke. It was hard to find an occasion to wear it. She stared at her reflection in the mirror, the jacket perfectly hugging her body. Can't say I'm sorry I kissed you. I made a promise to you. And Sasuke. I just want you two happy. I think you're right. To stop hanging out alone. His face expressions entered her thoughts like a heavy whirlwind. Each time, she saw a vivid picture of how Naruto looked when he said each phrase to her. Smiling Sakura-chan is the best damn thing ever. Sakura stood in front of the full-length mirror and watched a pool of tears collect in her eyes. No, she scolded herself, don't. She looked up to the ceiling, trying to prevent any more tears from being shed. She closed her eyes, head held high and waited for the tears to pull back. It wasn't supposed to hurt this much, Sakura exclaimed to no one in particular. It was Naruto. It was just Naruto. So, how's he doing? I'm guessing you mean Naruto, Sai glanced at her from his peripheral. They sat down in the main waiting room of the hospital. With each time the door opened, Sakura and Sai felt a gentle gust of night air. Yes, of course. If you're so concerned, why don't you ask him? You know very well that's not possible, Sakura looked down to her feet. Well, you have scarred him for life, Sai told her frankly. You have ruined him of women forever. He has no luck of being normal. Sai, I'm serious. Sakura exclaimed, throwing a punch into his arm. I haven't talked with him for weeks. It's so unsettling, not knowing how he is. Well, it's a state of mind you will have to get used to, correct? Sai asked. I know. It's just a lot harder than I thought. Sakura mused out loud. Sai glanced over to her and then sat up straight on the waiting room chairs. Last I heard, he is going to go on a mission and then he's heading to Sunagakure after. Again? It's a safe haven, for him to escape the stress and tribulations of an unrequited and bitter love, Sai stated with a swift tone. A soft sound, like a grimace escaped her lips. She bent over, clutching her head with both hands. She really did not have the energy to fight Sai as of that moment. These past few weeks of restless nights have left her short-fused and less energetic than normal. Ah. Here comes your date for the evening, he said, his eyes to the door. Sure enough, in walked Sasuke from the far end of the room. You know, I've been trying to think of a nickname for Sasuke based on his physical qualities or personality, Sai said softly, barely audible to Sakura. But so far I've come up with was Duckbutt and Homewrecker. I can't decide which one is more fitting. Sai, please, Sakura begged under her whisper, the last thing I would like to do is embed you in the hospital wall. You pull anything remotely like that, I won't heal you. She paused and asked, and what do you mean by homewrecker? Sasuke reached the two, staring straight at Sakura. Ready? Sakura and Sai stood at the same time, Sakura answering with a huh, while Sai simultaneously saying hello and waving his hand. Sasuke raised an eyebrow at him. Hi. And then reached out to Sakura's arm, gently moving her to his side. Have fun on your date, Sai wished for them. Sakura shot him a silent look, telling him to not pull any crazy nickname stunt. Sai only stood there, eyes closed in a smile. Without another exchange, Sasuke led her towards the door and out to the night air. Sakura looked back to the hospital and then back to Sasuke. I have to focus on the present, she told herself. I have to. Sakura walked down the halls of the hospital early morning. The cherry blossoms have already faded and fallen, leaving a trail in the waiting room foyer. As she walked through the waiting room, she crossed to another wing, and noticed a very familiar face standing at the counter. He was signing a few papers, while his young team stood beside him. He paused from writing, turned his head and looked straight at her. He smiled. She knew he was trying, but his blue eyes didn't match his grin. His smile faded into a softened turn of the lip, but his eyes lingered on her for another few seconds. Come on, you little squirts, he said to his young teammates. We're done here. Sakura took a breath and opened her mouth to speak, however nothing came out. She watched the young man and his members leave the hospital through the front door. What was she supposed to say? That she missed him? Yeah, right. She shook her head, crossing into another adjacent hallway. She stopped in front of her destination, a door halfway down the hall, and knocked. She waited a couple of seconds before coming in. Hello, she greeted. My name is Haruno, and I'll be your caretaker. She found herself standing in front of a couple, both sitting on the bed. The wife, a thin-limbed woman with short red hair, sat tucked underneath the white sheets. A man with his brown hair pulled back, turned to face Sakura. He stood and bowed. My name is Iga. Please take care of my wife. Of course, Sakura bowed in return. I will do my very best. The man turned to his wife. I need to return to work. I'll visit you later. The patient nodded and watched as he left. When he was out of the room, she looked over to Sakura. You can call me Ko, Haruno-san. Oh. Okay, Sakura agreed. This woman was probably only a few years older, she realized. Maybe 5 years older. Sakura opened the folder to read the patient's medical chart. So, you've been experiencing stomach pains? Ko nodded slowly. For a few days. Maybe a week? Well, we're going to keep you overnight for observation, but we're going to start some tests. Sakura performed her tests, extracting blood from Ko's arm as well. She took the syringe sample out of her skin. Your husband seems to be a very nice man, she mentioned to her. Yes, he's a good man, Ko told Sakura. He and I were in the same team when we were younger. He was top graduate in our class and he wanted to marry when we were quite young. Sakura couldn't help but see a small resemblance between her husband and her own dark-eyed teammate. You're a very lucky woman to find the one for you right away. Ko's brow relaxed and her eyes momentarily turned to her folded hands on her lap. Yes, I think so. Did she say something wrong? The next morning was strangely cold. Sakura entered the hospital and headed to the back office to clock in. As soon as she did, she headed to the east wing to obtain her patient's blood work. She exited the wing to the waiting room foyer and approached the counter. Excuse me, she asked the nurse, may I have the records for Koyama Hideo? The nurse's eyes continued to stare at a figure behind Sakura. Sure. She reached into the pile to her right, glancing at the names before finding the needed one. You know what? The nurse lowered her voice so only Sakura could hear. That man near the door, by himself? He was here as soon as my shift started. Visiting hours already started, Sakura mused. He hasn't left? No. Just holding that flower, staring at it, sitting there. Sakura peered over her shoulder, glancing at the mentioned figure from her peripheral. She took the file from the nurse and headed towards the man near the door. He was only a few years older than she was, it seemed, with black spiky hair and wraparound sunglasses perched on his head. He was sitting at the edge of his chair, elbows to his knees, holding a single flower in his hand, a white carnation, its petals streaked with red. Sakura stopped a few feet from him. "Excuse me?" The man looked up from his gaze and his eyes widened. He stood to his feet, wiping his hands at the side of his pants. He seemed harmless, Sakura thought. "Do you need any help?" Sakura asked him. "No, well, erg." He reached to scratch the back of his head. "Just, is IGA-KO here?" "Yes, she's admitted here." "Oh, so he is a visitor, after all." "Shy, but still. Visiting hours already started, so you can come and visit her. I'm sure she would like that." His eyes fell from her view. Casted to the floor. His expression changed to a cross between a grimace and sad smile. "Probably not," he said, fiddling with his sunglasses. "Are you her care provider?" Sakura nodded. He bowed low while saying, "Please take care of her." He stood straight. "Oh, and..." He handed the flower to her. "Please give this to her." "And who do I say it's from?" Sakura took the flower. "Just say it you found it on the ground or something." The man quickly pulled his sunglasses on and left the hospital through the doors, hands in his pocket. Sakura watched as the man left from sight before heading over to her first patient. She knocked on her door and entered. "Good morning, Keo-san." Her patient was already fully awake. "Good morning. You know, I haven't slept that well in a while. It could have been all the medicine, but still, it was nice." Sakura smiled. "That's good. I'm finishing up all your tests. They should be finished in an hour." "Okay." That's when Ryoji comes back. Keo watched Sakura's blank stare. "My husband," she elaborated. "Can you wait to tell me anything until then?" "Sure." Sakura then recalled her encounter a few seconds prior. "Oh," she handed Keo the flower she was holding. "This is for you." Immediately, the light in Keo's eyes faded. She stared at the carnation as she slowly reached out for its stem. "Was this given," she asked with a straight face, "by a man with black hair and tan skin? With gray eyes?" Sakura had to take a second to recall. "How did you know?" "He's been giving me the same flower since we were 10, Keo told her. "Genji. My other teammate back in my genin days." "Oh," Sakura realized. "So it was him, you, and your husband?" "Yes," Keo's expression sank further. "He was always such an idiot," she muttered softly. Sakura watched quietly as Keo gently touched the petals, a hint of sadness crossing her face. Even when she called her former teammate an idiot, it didn't sound angry at all. Keo looked up from her daze. "I'm sorry. I don't mean to hold you from your other patients." Sakura glanced down at her folder. "Oh. Right. Well, I'll come back when your husband is here." "Thank you." Sakura turned away to exit the room. Just before she closed the door, she caught sight of Keo holding the flower blossom against her brow as she stared out into the window. She hated being the bearer of bad news. After reading over her charts, x-rays and lab results, Sakura took a deep breath before entering her patient's room. Her patient and her husband were already sitting, waiting for her. "Hello, Keo-san." "IGA-san," Sakura opened and then closed the door behind her. This isn't easy to say." Sakura peered one last time at the charts before continuing. "You are a few weeks pregnant." But she tried to interrupt them from any potential celebration. "There are complications." "Complications?" Ryoji asked. "Yes," Sakura answered. "Your blood work indicates pregnancy, but we suspect that it is currently growing in the fallopian tube. That's probably what was causing your pains." Keo's eyes began to water up. "I'm pregnant?" So what occurs now? Ryoji asked Sakura. Surgery? We're going to perform an ultrasound to make sure. And if there are no signs of rupturing, we'll give Kyo-san some medicine that will abort the fetus. If there is a rupture, we have to perform surgery. You mean the baby will die either way? Kyo asked out loud, eyes to her lap. I'm sorry, Sakura nodded slowly. Kyo slowly began to crumble her composure. Tears fell swiftly down her face and then she covered it with her hands. Her husband sat beside her with his arms wrapped around her shoulder. We'll try again another time, he whispered to her. Kyo's quivering subsided and she just nodded her head slowly. Sakura approached the intercom near the door and pushed the white button. Naoko-san, please confirm ultrasound room 2 is available. She turned back to her patient. I'm sorry, but I must ask, has this happened before? Miscarriage? Abdominal pain or bleeding? No. Will this cause any future problems? Statistically, it depends, Sakura answered honestly, infertility is increased with surgery. But it's really hard to say. Kyo nodded her head, and then turned to Ryoji. Before the ultrasound, can you call the shop and talk to my mom? Right now? Yes, please. What do you want me to say to her? Don't tell her about the baby. Just say I was sick, something, anything, but tell her the doctor says there's nothing to worry about and I'll be fine. She's been so busy working, I don't want her to worry on top of it. Alright. He let go of her and then placed a kiss on her temple. I'll be right back. He stood from his seat and exited the room. Kyo twiddled her thumbs and waited a few seconds before wiping her tears again. He's the firstborn in his family. His clan expects him to have a child soon, you know. Sakura said nothing. Kyo paused for a moment before reaching underneath her pillow, producing the striped carnation in view. She looked at it thoughtfully as she twirled it in between her fingers. The flower from her friend, Sakura recognized. Sakura remained quiet and watched Kyo continue to stare at the flower, gently touching the petals as she bit her bottom lip, closed her eyes, holding back another onset of tears. And then Kyo opened her eyes, took a deep breath, and pinched a single petal off the flower. She tucked the petal under the collar of her hospital gown while placing the flower back in its hiding spot, underneath her pillow. He's such a fool, you know, Kyo said absently, inspiring strength to people around him. Sakura was positive Kyo was not talking about her husband. The door suddenly opened and in walked Ryoji. I talked to your mom. She's still curious, but she's definitely happy that you're okay. Good, Kyo pulled a thin smile to her lips. An assistant came in, pushing a wheelchair in front of her. Sakura-san, the room is ready. What? Oh, Sakura peeled her eyes away from her patient. Thank you. Shall we? She assisted Kyo into the wheelchair. As Kyo sat down, she gripped Sakura's hand a few seconds longer and looked at her, holding her hospital gown collar closer around her neck. Sakura gave her a knowing smile. So, I'll see you after work? Sakura looked over to the man beside her. Sasuke answered as they both stood at the front door. 8 o'clock tonight. He turned around to walk down the street, hard hat in his left hand. Sakura watched him walk out of sight before entering the hospital front entrance. As soon as she entered, she recognized someone standing beside the door. Excuse me, the raven-haired man approached Sakura. Within a few moments, Sakura's memory kicked in. Genji-san, correct? Yeah, he answered. You're Kyo-chan's doctor, right? Yes? How is she doing? She's doing okay, right? Genji asked, a look of panic written across his face. She's fine, she answered, without giving too much information away. Her treatment is going smoothly, so she should be out soon. His eyes softened and he released a sigh of relief. Visiting hours start in a few minutes. Sorry, Genji's eyes turned to the door. And then he let out a very stiff laugh. You probably think I'm strange, huh? Like some sort of weirdo? Sakura didn't dare say anything or agree, regardless of what she thought. She just raised an eyebrow. I can't see her. Can't be allowed to, more like it, Genji admitted quietly. I just wanted to make sure she's okay. Actually, Sakura knew she shouldn't talk about her patient's private affairs, but she couldn't help but remember how Kao looked so lonely for the past few days. Genji-san, Kao-san has just gone through a very intense experience. I can't tell you what exactly, you understand, but being surrounded by loved ones is the best way to heal. Genji let out a heavy sigh, pulling his eyes to the floor. I really want to see her. More than anything. He reached for his dark sunglasses and pulled them over his eyes. I just can't. Thanks for taking care of her. But dash. Sakura was cut off as Genji quickly ran off, leaving the hospital. And then, Sakura began to wonder. When she walked into Kao's room, she found her patient already awake. Kao turned away from her window and turned over to Sakura. Hello. Hi, Sakura closed the door behind her. You seem to be doing well. Oh, well, yes, Kao smirked. I'd like to think I'm a tough cookie. And if you and your husband would like to see a counselor, I could recommend someone to you. Kao's smirk faded into a small smile. Thank you for that. Her eyes glanced over to the window, then back to Sakura. Actually, I saw your escort this morning, Kao's eyes twinkled. Is he your boyfriend? He's quite handsome. Sakura smiled and nodded. Wait, she realized something. You were watching us? Can't help it, Kao told her as she pointed to the window. I have a view of the main gate. Then you saw Genji-san? Immediately, Kao's expression fell as she twiddled with the object in her lap. Upon closer inspection, Sakura realized it was the carnation, now wilted and dull from its original color. Yeah, I saw. Sakura couldn't stand it anymore. She closed the folder and placed it down. May I ask you about, well? She paused, trying to reword her thoughts. When I spoke to him earlier, he told me he couldn't see you. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm prying, it's just, Sakura began to see the parallels connecting between her and this woman. Kao nodded silently, agreeing to Sakura's request. The three of us, Ryoji, Genji and I, were all on the same team when we graduated from the academy. We grew up together, we bonded, and before I knew it, I realized I loved the both of them. Sakura's eyes widened. They're both very different, Kao continued. Each with their own strengths and weaknesses, perfections and flaws. As Kao spoke, Sakura quietly took a seat at the foot of the bed. And then, when we were 20, Genji told me he loved me. The next day, Ryoji asked me to marry him, Kao explained as she played with the flower, twirling it in between her fingers. The fighting began soon after that. And I was so confused. It took me a few days, weeks I think, but I made a decision. And I told Genji that it was best if we didn't see each other anymore. How did you realize you loved your husband more? Sakura asked. It wasn't that. Ryoji was very calm and responsible, Kao explained. He and I were very similar. I thought that was what I needed. Genji was spontaneous and spirited, the opposite of Ryoji. I thought I made the right choice. You thought? Kao shrugged. I used to think regardless of who I chose, I would still be thinking of the other. Don't get me wrong. Ryoji is a respectable man and a providing husband. But... She sighed, looking down at the flower once more. I don't know. The one thing I do know, and I wish I knew sooner, when Genji smiles, it's like the sun comes out. Kao stopped speaking as she looked up to Sakura. Sakura noticed the concerned look falling across the woman's face. What's wrong? Haruno-san, why are you crying? Sakura's hand slowly reached up to her own cheeks, feeling the tracks of tears rolling down her face and off her chin. Sakura muttered. I'm sorry, I have to go. And quickly, Sakura ran out of the room, still able to hear Kao's words in her head. It's like the sun comes out. The mental image of a blonde man with blue eyes crashed down upon her. Sakura had to stop in her tracks towards the restroom, her vision completely obscured with tears. The tea house was a nice environment, she thought. The lighting was dim, the music was soft, and the tea was all excellent tasting. But tonight, the patrons seemed similar to one another. Male and female pairs, sitting at small tables, leaning forward to the opposite person, chatting quietly, with hidden smiles and soft adoring gazes to each other. They must have stuck out like a sore thumb, considering how far they were sitting from another, and how Sasuke hadn't said a word in the past 5 minutes. "Are you okay here, Sasuke-kun?" "I'm fine," he sat, elbows on the table, fingers intertwined with one another. "Oh. Okay." Sakura looked around the dining area once more, noticing many couples enjoying a pot of tea and a few treats together. "I've been wondering," she began, "would you move back to the Uchiha land?" Sasuke shook his head. "For now? No. Perhaps later, when I am free to be a ninja again." Sakura nodded, understanding. "But not by myself," he added. It took her a few moments to understand what exactly he meant, not by himself, but with his wife, and perhaps children. Sakura began to wonder what it would be like to live in the Uchiha compound. To be quite honest, it would feel too cold in that area. The neighborhood was so isolated and void of life compared to the rest of the village. Frankly, it was a little nerve-rattling to her. It wasn't exactly the ideal place to raise children. Raising children with Sasuke? She shouldn't even think about that now. Ever since she left work, she kept thinking of the story her patient Ko told her. Of being torn between two men. Of choosing between the two. Of living with that regret. Sasuke was a good man. Would she too have regret? And if she chose Naruto? Would she feel this much pain? Sakura. She looked up to her date. "Sorry, was I drifting off again?" Sasuke nodded. "You've been distracted these past weeks." "Yeah," Sakura laughed weakly as she twiddled her hair strands around her finger. "Sorry. I have a lot of stuff on my mind." "Like?" "Naruto." "Work, mostly," Sakura answered. Her eyes fell to the tea kettles in front of them, with 2 hot steaming cups of tea placed down by the waitress. Her eyes slowly widened as Sasuke's hand moved towards hers. "Hello, Sakura." "Convict." Sakura's eyes darted to the person standing beside their table. "Sai?" Sai remained with a smile on his face as Sasuke pulled his hands to his cup, glaring daggers at him. "On a date, I see?" Sai observed. Yes, she rolled her yes. And damn those names, didn't she talk to him about that already? "What are you doing here?" "I like the sweets here," he answered simply. "Oh." Sakura did find it strange, seeing him here by himself. Her eyes peered to see if anything was standing behind him. "It's just me." Sakura blinked. "What?" "It's just me," Sai informed her. "What, did you think I came here with someone?" "Of course I didn't think you came here with him," she immediately blurted before realizing what she said. When she did, Sasuke was staring at her and Sai had a too amused smile on his face. "Here with someone," she repeated in an attempt to save herself, "someone." Quickly, she reached for her tea to take a sip. Never mind, she nearly burned her tongue off. Sai invited himself to sit beside Sasuke. "So, what is your drink of choice?" "Ginseng," Sasuke answered. "Jasmine," she responded before pausing. "Do you really have to be here?" "Ginseng?" Sai turned to Sasuke, completely ignoring Sakura's inquiry. "I heard that's used to promote potency. Does that mean your penis doesn't work?" Sasuke's eyes seemed to glow red. "Did our dear Sakura prescribe that to you?" In a second, Sakura reached across the table, holding Sai by the collar. "You have 2 seconds to leave, Sai," Sakura warned him in a menacing voice. "Very well," Sai stood and glanced over to the counter. "I believe my order is ready," and he turned back to the couple. I haven't seen him in a while, so tell Naruto I said hello. Whoever sees him first, he waved politely and walked away, whistling gently. Sasuke watched as he walked out of sight, grimacing at the ANBU. I'm sorry, Sakura told Sasuke. He's annoying, Sasuke filled in for her. Well, yes, Sakura agreed, but he wasn't really taught how to act normally in social environments. He's still got a lot to learn. Sasuke picked up his cup of tea, paused for a moment and then placed it back down. I'm going to get a different tea. He stood and headed to the waitress behind the counter to order something else. Meanwhile, Sakura reached for the dango and picked up one of the sticks. The smile that was on her face faded as her thoughts returned to Naruto. So, what was he up to now that Sasuke and she were spending so much time together? She could still remember how dim Naruto's eyes were the last time she saw him. So hurt, so alone. It didn't matter anymore, Sakura told herself. It was too late for such thoughts. Right? So, Sakura asked her patient, you promise not to handle any kunai fights until you are a trained ninja? The young 5-year-old girl nodded. Her dark eyes wide. Uh-huh. Good girl. Sakura picked the girl up off the examination table and helped her to the floor. Remember, wear the glove when you need to shower, okay? I left extra gloves with your mom. Okay, thank you. The little girl ran out of the clinic exam room, towards the waiting room. Meanwhile, Sakura headed the opposite direction, towards the intensive care unit. She walked across the main lobby, past the central waiting room. And then, her eye caught a flash of orange and blonde in her peripheral. She turned, only to catch a quick glance of a blonde man, walking out the front door with 3 young genin following close behind. He didn't have to turn around, she knew exactly who it was. Sakura took a shallow breath, feeling the onslaught of her heart pumping strongly, painfully. Haruno-san? Sakura turned quickly, and saw a familiar and welcome face. Keo-san? How are you? It had been days since she last saw her patient. I'm well, thank you. I'm waiting for Ryoji to finish work, we have our first counseling appointment today. That's good, Sakura smiled. Her eyes drifted back to the glass doorway, she could see him walking farther into the distance. Sakura pulled her eyes back to Keo, realizing she too was looking at the doorway. Keo glanced at the door, then back to Sakura and smiled gently, as if she too understood what was going on. Sakura looked down to her feet and around the room. May we? She held her hand out to the sitting area, silently asking if she could have a minute of Keo's time. Of course, Keo complied and followed Sakura. Sakura and Keo sat down on a pair of chairs that were against the far back wall, away from the reception desk. Actually, I wanted to thank you for everything you told me. And for sharing your story. Sakura paused before saying, the truth is, I see a lot of my situation in your experience. There is a man in my life, the one you saw, and he used to be my teammate. But there's another man, my other teammate. It's just. Sakura was keeping her eyes to the floor. It's just nice to know that I could relate. Keo softly smiled to her. You made your decision? I thought I did. Her smile faded and she leaned closer to her. May I make a suggestion? Please? Regardless of whether it's now, 10 or 20 years from now, all a person would ever want is happiness. So, don't choose what you think is expected or proper. Choose happiness. Sakura nodded. Thank you. Keo reached out to her, patting her on the shoulder. Good luck. She stood and approached the front door, where her husband was just entering. The man spotted Sakura from across the way and nodded to her. She responded with a wave. Sakura watched the couple walk towards the clinic wing before she stood on her feet to continue her day. Happiness. What is that? Sakura wondered why it couldn't be easier. She chose Sasuke, technically, but she always was thinking of Naruto. She even often kissed Sasuke to forget about Naruto, to distract herself. Sakura laid on her stomach, listening to the radio. Towards her left, on the floor, sat the bracelet Sasuke gave her. Towards the right was a pink envelope. This man wanted marriage. This man gave up. Or, more like she cut her ties. She had even obtained a daisy on the way home. She pulled out one petal. Sasuke-kun. She pulled out another. Naruto. She repeated this process until she only had one left. Sasuke-kun, and she pulled the last petal. The flower had spoken. So why wasn't she satisfied? Wait a minute, say she did choose Naruto. Would she be thinking of Sasuke, yearning for him to be in her life? If the relationship was fulfilling, she wouldn't want to be with anyone else, right? She tossed the stem away. Are you sure you don't want me to come over? The voice on the phone asked Sakura. No, thanks. This is something I gotta figure out for myself, Sakura responded with a sigh. Say, Ino? When you think of happiness, what do you think of? Happiness? Ino sounded perplexed. She sat quietly, thinking, trying to figure out her answer. Poetry, maybe? Chocolates? I dunno. And then she gasped. Well, there's one thing I know that makes me happy without fail, when Chuji and Shikamaru come back from a mission without a scratch. But, that's not what you were looking for, huh? It's fine, Sakura lied, I just wanted to hear your answer. She pulled the phone away for a second and sighed. I'll just need to think some more. I'll talk to you later. Okay, later. Quickly, Sakura pulled on her red-orange jacket and locked the door behind her. Her legs moved beneath her as if they had a mind of their own. She slowly walked through the streets, hands in her pockets. Everyone had his or her own definition of happiness, and it was a strange feeling, knowing hers could possibly be tied to one man. Think, Haruno, think, which one? How did she feel in the company of Sasuke? Well, he was, almost like a prize. All those years admiring him, seeing how strong, how intelligent he was. For years, she wanted him to notice her. And for those years while he was gone, she wanted nothing more but to see him again. And when she did see him, he wanted nothing less than to spend all his free time with her. Frankly, it was a dream come true. The man of her dreams wanted to be with her. So, why didn't she feel pure elation? What about Naruto? Wasn't he just the class clown? Over the years they have gotten to know each other, trust one another, understand one another. They both lost Sasuke, lost a member of their family, and they tried their best to bring him back. He was willing to balance her troubles on his own crowded shoulders. He wasn't cool, suave, or a gentleman, but he did have a fantastic heart. Sasuke made her feel. Naruto made her feel. Either way, she knew what she wanted. She wanted to belong. She wanted to feel like she was at home. She wanted to be loved as much as she loved. But how would she find that feeling? Sakura froze and looked up, recognizing the apartment complex she stood in front of. She looked up towards the second floor and tilted her eyes to the left. The light was on in his place. The light was like a sunrise to her, warming her from head to toe, overwhelming her to the brink of tears. Why did it take so long to figure out? Quickly, she ran as fast as she could to her destination. Sakura waited patiently on the lit doorstep until the door opened. Sasuke stood on the other side of the doorway, a look of surprise touching his face. Sakura? Hi, Sakura smiled, waving her hand. Can I come in? Sasuke nodded and stepped back to let her pass. Is something wrong? She entered, remaining in the foyer. I just needed to talk to you. It couldn't wait until tomorrow? She shook her head. His eyes turned to her, observing her frame, the way she stood, how her face looked. Do you want tea? Sakura reached out to him, holding him by the forearm. No, she realized what she was doing and let go. Sorry, Sasuke watched her under careful eyes. Sakura took a deep breath. Sasuke-kun, there's no easy way to say this, so I'm going to just say it. I don't think I can do what you're asking of me. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. The truth is, when we were younger, I wanted nothing more than to be acknowledged by you as a person, as a ninja and a woman. Now you finally did, and that makes me feel special. But that's really selfish of me because to stand by your side means standing by you and your vision. The wife of the Uchiha leader should be physically and emotionally strong. And we both know I'm so weak. Your clan deserves better. She held her fist down, fingers folded in as if she were holding something. When Sasuke did not make a move, she used her other hand to hold his palm up, and placed her fist in his palm. Her fingers unfolded and she dropped something in his hand. Sasuke stared quietly at the chain-link bracelet. I'm so sorry, Sasuke-kun, she choked. I love you, but this isn't going to work. I hope you understand and that you still consider me dear to you as you are to me. A breath passed through his lips. Then why end it? He asked. When she remained quiet, he asked, what's the real reason? Sakura stumbled, that is the real reason. Naruto has nothing to do with this? Sakura was dumbstruck. What does he have to do with this? That's true. He muttered to himself, that's not like him, the idiot. Sakura blinked. I don't understand. Sasuke gazed at her quietly, waiting, thinking in silence, as if he were trying to weigh out his thoughts. Finally, when we were returning to Konoha, I told him that I wanted to restart my clan. And then I asked him how you felt about me. What did he say? That you love me. So I told him to stand back and he agreed. Naruto stepped down for Sasuke? Suddenly, those months of avoidance made so much sense to her. Because of our history, you're the only girl I trusted and who I figure was strong enough. You didn't love me. Sakura didn't ask. I care about you, Sasuke remedied. But you were never in love with me? Slowly, Sasuke nodded. Sakura took a deep breath. You know, I expected that to hurt a lot more than it did. Maybe because of that idiot. Sakura looked up. I see the way you look at him, the way you talk about him. And when he's not around, I know you're thinking of him, you look lost. Sasuke shrugged. I guess after all these years, you two have gotten a lot closer than I expected. Sakura's heart began to beat fast, throwing itself against her ribcage. Naruto and we. She didn't know exactly what to say to him. Tell me you love him. Sakura's eyes widened as she turned to Sasuke. What? Tell me you love him. Tell me you love that idiot, Naruto. Otherwise, I'm gonna keep chasing you. I'm not going to let Naruto win you from me, Sasuke declared. Because that's just damn ridiculous. Sakura took a deep breath. Until you say that, I still think there's a chance for me. So say it. So, no holding back, Sakura convinced herself. This was Sasuke, she argued. He deserved the best, and in a twisted strange way, the truth was the best. I love him. Who's him? Naruto. I love Naruto, Sakura declared. That loudmouth, rash, reckless guy. I didn't think it would happen like this, but... Before she knew it, the sight of Sasuke blurred before her as tears filled her eyes. I'm sorry it ended like this, Sasuke-kun. He said nothing for the moment she stood still. As soon as she did moved, taking a breath, Sakura froze when she heard his voice. Sakura. There was a time when just the sound of her name escaping his lips would send her in a twirl. Now, it was feeling of sadness and nostalgia. She turned to see him standing in arm's distance. I wasn't lying when I said I care about you, Sasuke told her. But it's not the way you want. A soft smile reached her lips and she stepped forward, wrapping her arms around his midsection. I'm just not cut out for all this. You deserve the best. Thank you, he whispered. It took her a few moments before she pulled away. So, she wiped the tears from her eyes. I'll see you later? He nodded. And with one last look, Sakura turned and left, closing Sasuke's door behind her. Sakura really didn't know what to say at first. She stood in front of Naruto's door, silent for a few minutes and wondered how he would react to the news of her and Sasuke. Maybe he would be happy. Sakura knocked hard on his door. It was probably near midnight, but she couldn't stand the thought of sleeping, not with him not knowing. Naruto, she knocked again. She heard the squeak of floorboards and then it stopped. Naruto, I know you're in there. And then, a horrible thought entered her mind, what if he had a woman in there? Sakura shook her head. No way. Then again, wasn't she head over heels for him? What made her think it was totally impossible? Whoever was in there, whoever this strange woman was, just wait until she was in reach, Sakura fumed. Wait a minute. Take a deep breath, you're jumping to conclusion, Sakura told herself. No matter what, remember what you're here for. Fine, she said to the door. Don't open the door, just listen. I'm sorry, Naruto. I'm so sorry, she apologized. I never meant to hurt you. That's the last thing I would want to do to you. Her eyes stared at a single crack in the door panel. I was so confused about what I wanted, but I know now. She cursed quietly. Her words weren't coming out right. She took a breath and tried again. I think that we need certain people in our lives. And I need you in mine. Because I realized. She closed her eyes as she felt them fill with tears. She took another deep breath and as she exhaled, her voice shook. I realized that you're the most important person in my life. One by one, tears started to fall down her face. I love ... Suddenly, a feeling of self-doubt and nerves filled her from head to toe. Could she really say it? Could she really say those 3 words? Don't hold back, she told herself. That's why I got into this mess in the first place. Just say everything I'm feeling. I love how you make me feel strong. I love when you smile because it's like the sun shines. She couldn't stop her thoughts from spilling out of her mouth. I love how you call me Chan because it makes me feel near and dear to you. I love how you're able to cry in front of me because it makes me feel like I'm not alone. A gentle smile moved the corners of her lips upward. I love when you talk about being Hokage because it makes me feel safe. I even love when you offer me your fish cake from your ramen because you know I like them so much. She couldn't help but laugh. I love how you tell me that I'm the best medic even if I had a rough surgery. She reached her hands out to the door, palms against the wood. I love how you look at me because it's like you only have eyes for me, she admitted as she felt tears falling over her cheeks. And I love how selfless you are ... She watched as the door flew open and within a few moments, Naruto reached out to her, pulled her through his threshold, pulled her to his chest and held her in his arms. Sakura gasped. She froze when she felt his arms wrapped tighter around her waist. And there it was, the way her mind calmed, the way her heart beat, warming her body from head to toe. She took a deep breath, taking in the feeling of Naruto holding her. Why didn't she see it before? The way everything made sense as she stood there against him, how she didn't feel lost or incomplete. There it was, clear as day. Naruto inhaled deeply and sniffed. Wait, she wiggled her hands to his shoulders and pushed him a step away. She could see fresh tears pooling in his eyes. Now just a second, Naruto. I'm not even finished yet. I couldn't wait, he exclaimed. Couldn't you have waited until I got to at least 21 of them like you? Not really, Naruto answered, mostly because I want to kiss you now. Please let me kiss you, he begged. Why are you asking? Sakura raised an eyebrow. Because last time we kissed, you shoved me, Naruto told her. And you're a hard hitter. And before she knew it, Sakura began to giggle. Was it really this complicated to kiss someone? Fine, just shut up then, she commanded. Her hands reached out to his face and cradled his jaw as she pulled him to her. She heard him squeak in surprise as she pressed her lips to his. He seemed to enjoy himself because she felt his lips smile against hers. He groaned as if he just took a bite of sweet cake. Good thing I brushed my teeth, huh? Thanks for that, Sakura frowned. You just ruined the mood. Okay, he puckered up. How about round 2? No. How about we make out on the floor like last time? No. Although the thought did briefly cross her mind. Fine, he pouted. Then let's stay like this, he suggested, arms still around her. The words triggered a memory in the back of her mind, sending a bolt of recognition. Those dreams, that voice, that pair of warm arms wrapped around her. Sakura finally understood. Naruto, she whispered as she wrapped her arms around his neck. In case you're wondering, yes, you can keep me, she smiled. Naruto chuckled against her ear. Heh, awesome. The end.